All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.
You're listening to the Northern Hunter Podcast, home of all things hunting, fishing, and outdoors in Alaska.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. My name is James Payne.
I'm Dalton Gray.
I'm Mariah Humphreys.
And today we're going to mix it up a little bit from the theme of, I guess, the last few episodes we've done. We're going to talk a little bit more about just regular old hunting. Everybody listening, welcome to the month of December. If you're in Alaska,
Oh, boy.
get ready. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
That really escalated quickly. That really got out of hand there.
But, you know, if you are in Alaska and it's still December, we're going to be talking about, this is the last month to go chase some deer around. So we're going to get into that a little bit later on in this episode. But before we do, if you guys like what we're doing here and you'd like to support us, easiest way you can do that is by subscribing to the show, leaving a rating and a written review. 5 stars is always best. That really helps the algorithm get this show in front of more people. If you want to help us reach more people that you know, make sure you share the show. Every little platform has a share symbol next to it. And if you go to our socials, if you search at The Northern Hunter, then you'll be able to find our Facebook or our Instagram. If you share our stuff with your friends on those, then that really helps us grow as well. And we also have a website, thenorthernhunter.com. There's a shop page there that has some merch on there and hats, hoodies, t-shirts, and all that. And a partners page with a lot of different partners that have decided to support what we're doing. They have discount codes. Most of them have discount codes for us. Those are listed there in the partner section along with the links as well as in the show notes for this. And there's a nice contact button on the website there as well. So you guys can write into us. That gets an email directly to us. On that note, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that wrote in over the last couple of episodes that we've been doing on shooting and rifles and reloading and such. A lot of great comments, a lot of people asking kind of further questions, things we'll get into in future episodes. But as to, not be too
Repetitive.
Yeah. Wait, there's a lot of gun nuts out there. We are all three of ourselves consider ourselves gun nuts.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time.
Not everybody's that way. So we're going to mix it up a little bit today. On that note, though, I have one correction to make, a housekeeping item, if you could say. But less of a housekeeping and more of a, I said the wrong thing.
Just kind of a blunder.
Yeah. So a classic case of trying to think ahead of yourself and then the words come out jumbled in your mouth. So couple of episodes.
I was going to say, we are not exactly reading off a teleprompter in here. So
exactly.
Misspeaking does occasionally happen.
Well, and in the comments I got about that the person I'm going to bring up were all in jest.
Yeah.
Like understanding that clearly that's not what I meant. But I just want to make sure, because we do have a lot of new people listening to the show that might not have had any experience reloading. Mm-hmm. So during the reloading portion of, I believe it was 2 episodes ago now.
Yeah.
You and I were going back and forth, Mo, about different tumblers and different brass prep methods. And there was a point when I looked over at you and I asked what kind of media you had. And I had mentioned, do you have lead media by accident? Thinking further ahead in the conversation. And then that's just the word that came out of my mouth. What I was trying to say was if you have the steel pins or if you have organic media, such as the husks, like you said you use. So
I noticed your blunder when you said it. I was just decided to be nice about it and just roll.
Yeah, I didn't catch it till I was listening to the episode later.
Honestly,
and I caught it on my own before anybody commented about it. But
when you said that, I thought, I wonder if you can use lead. Haven't heard of that one before.
So, it was just, But anyway, I just wanted to clarify for anybody that doesn't know better automatically. Don't put lead in a tumbler. It's a horrible idea. Your brass will not come out clean. There could be a lot of other side effects as well.
Right.
But steel pins are another option that you can use. Some tumblers come with that. More like they almost look more like the old rock polishers, when you were a kid.
Yeah. And those are typically like the wet tumblers.
Yeah, wet tumblers versus dry tumblers. So I just wanted to clarify that really quickly.
Good clarification, James. Good to know that you're human too.
Yep, we all are. So, but Mo, why don't you kick this one off? You had presented a really interesting article, I think earlier today.
I did. Now here's a preface to this, is I have skimmed this article. I have not read the article.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Dalton has read the article.
I read it earlier today.
Okay. Yeah. Well, both you guys did better than me. I skimmed it and thought, well, that's interesting.
Good job on sending it.
But since
our way.
you brought it up, it's your article.
North American Wolverine receives federal protection as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. Not acts.
And
That's kind of what it is.
Where'd you find this article at?
This is at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Okay.
FWS.gov. For those of you that haven't figured that out yet, that's Fish Wildlife Service. FW.
Okay. We're all about clarifications today.
Anyhow, it's I did a quick breeze through, like I said, and what I understand is that there's been a rule announced to list the population of North American wolverine in the contiguous U.S. as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. So from the way I understand from just that, and that's about how much I looked at earlier, is that it's going to be like grizzly bears.
Basically, yeah.
They're in the Endangered Species Act.
Yeah.
For the lower 48.
For the lower 48, yes.
Not up here because, well, we have plenty of grizzly bears. We also have plenty of wolverines.
Right. You might not see them all that often, but they're there.
Oh, there's plenty here.
Yeah. They're just
good at hiding.
Well.
Yeah.
They're small. I mean, it doesn't take much to hide one of those. So,
Dalton, you read it. James, you read it. So,
yeah, no, I think, I'd have to look into the facts based behind it. How much the population is suffering down there, if at all. I don't really like putting too much of an opinion on populations of game that I have absolutely nothing to do with.
Right.
I am not in the area. I don't know how, scarce they are or prevalent they are. I don't know, how their habitat's being impacted. But I do trust that the people that are studying these animals are mostly giving the right information. For the most, there are obviously biases certain people will have. The thing I'll point out is I have a big issue with people jumping straight to the endangered species list. If that, I don't think that should be a tool that's used flippantly.
Right.
Because what often happens, and what we've seen happen with the grizzly bears, is they'll move the goalposts when it comes to removing them from that. So grizzly bears, they had certain numbers that they wanted to see, and then it's considered a recovered population. Well, as soon as they hit that number, then they're like, well, yeah, but maybe double that is actually a recovered population. And so then it's a moving target. And so you're seeing a lot more grizzly bear attacks in lower 48. You're seeing a lot more issues regarding those bears, which could be helped if they were allowed to be hunted.
Right. Put the fear of man back in them.
Right. But because the goalpost keeps moving and, it's a fluctuating target, it's like, how do you get them removed off this endangered species
become
list?
A political thing and not an
It
actual
is, exactly. And same thing with the wolves. I mean, even when they, in the states that they have taken the wolves off the endangered species list, the hunting of them is still so frowned upon, politically speaking.
Oh, highly politicized. Yeah.
For that reason, I would say, I hope that putting wolverines on this list has not just been an immediate first response. I hope they've done their research. I hope that they've looked at the habitat and the numbers and the harvests and things like that.
Did Colorado just get wolves back? I think they
might have. They've been going back and forth on that for years.
I thought I just heard a couple of weeks ago that they had the process in motion to get wolves back.
They've said that a couple times over the last few years, though. Unless they actually got a contract signed with one of the other states.
I'm going to do some more research on that.
Yeah, because I know there's been a lot of issues with them saying they're going to work with certain states.
The one thing I will mention about the Wolverine ordeal here, it is a very short article on this whole ordeal for Fish and Wildlife Service. It is written by Media Contacts Amanda Smith is what it says here. But this comes out of Portland, Oregon to start with. So, red flag or not, up to you. But in the final paragraph of the article, it says the service requests comments or information from other concerned federal and state agencies, tribes, the scientific community, or any interested party concerning the interim 4D rule. A 60-day comment period begins November 30th, 2023. And comments must be received by January 29th, 2024.
So this episode is going to drop on what, December 4th?
Something like that.
So
I think.
So any of y'all down there, you got about 2 months to make a comment on this.
Yeah. Cut out some Christmas time where you'll forget about it, and you got about a month or 6 weeks. So they are blaming a few different things, current and increasing impacts of climate change, they say, and associated habitat degradation and fragmentation are imperiling the North American wolverine. And that's Pacific Regional Director Hugh Morrison. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna put a dog in that fight.
Yeah,
because I don't live there. I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Right.
But if you do and you have an opinion, and it's your tax dollars going to the Fish and Wildlife Service that in those lower 48 states, then you should say something. If you have an opinion that will actually aid one side of this argument or another, because that is a big deal.
Too many hunters stand by the sidelines and hope somebody else will fight the fight.
Right.
Even here in Alaska, you see a ton of these comment periods come and go.
Yeah.
And they might get 5 comments through the whole comment period. And everybody has an opinion at the end of it with the outcome. But if you didn't make a comment,
right.
I mean, it's like voting. If you don't vote, can you really complain? Like,
right.
It's like
the answer is no.
Exactly. Like, so if you don't comment, how's anybody going to know your opinion on it?
Right.
And they're not going to take that into effect when they make their decision. So you can't really complain about the decision afterwards. So just make sure you're getting involved. There's a lot of great ways, at least here in Alaska. We have the advisory committees for the state stuff. We've talked about that a lot on this show. Each community, well, I'm not going to say every community, but most big communities have an AC that represents them. And you can go to those meetings. They're open. They have them streaming. You can go there in person and be involved. Ask questions. Put your opinions out there. You guys were talking about making changes to the regs and putting different comments in there and different proposals. If you keep up with these ACs, at least here in Alaska, you can figure out when the proposal dates open up, when you can make them, when you can make comments. In the lower 48, I have no idea what that process looks like, but I'm sure there is a process. They almost have to have a process like that. So if there's a way to get involved, you should get involved.
Yeah. So with the Endangered Species Act thing, I know some people hear that and just say no, because of the situation like with the grizzly bears. Now, I don't think it was a bad decision to put the grizzly bears on the Endangered Species Act
at the time that they did.
Just like the American bison.
They were almost gone. You didn't hear of them anymore, right?
Right.
No.
And now, well, they're everywhere, or almost. There's still some states that maybe they should stay on. But yeah, there's a lot of places, like Dalton said, where they should be management returned to the states.
Yeah.
So it's become political.
There's some mean grizzly bears.
And the same thing
there.
goes for wolves. There's states where they should open it up for wolves. They should open it wide open because now there's way too many.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. People are getting killed every year by grizzly bears in the lower 48, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah.
And in British Columbia, it's happening as well. Since the banning of grizzly bear hunting, it becomes a problem of you can't manage it. And when you can't manage an animal like a predator, like a grizzly bear, then it ends up having no fear of man.
Well, and especially when you end up with a bear that's a particular problem bear that does not experience consequences for its actions. right?
Well,
Like you get a bear that raids a campsite and it doesn't get shot. It doesn't get, hurt in any way. Like they ended up having to kill a problem grizz that they determined had 2 different attacks on humans down there. I want to say that was Wyoming.
I can't
earlier
remember.
this year.
That's very possible.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. That might have been an earlier in the year story.
A lot of states will put a tremendous amount of time and money into relocating problem bears.
Yeah. Yep.
The main problem that I'm seeing, and the trend that I'm noticing in a lot of these stories, is they're attacking bow hunters, and what happens is they don't know to cut off the attack when they find out it's a dude, right? They don't have any fear man,
right?
And so you've got somebody sitting there making elk calls, carrying on,
right?
They don't care. It sounds like an elk. Dude, it must be an elk, right? So they go ripping in there.
Weird looking elk, but okay.
Or or you bump into one and it's surprise, so its immediate reaction is a charge, which happens up here as well. But
of course, yeah.
Man alive, you hear of so many fewer bear attacks in Alaska than you do in the lower 48.
Right.
And we have how many times more bears in our state?
I want to say there's north of 33,000 grizzlies in this state.
Yeah.
Like,
probably even higher.
Yeah, probably.
And
200,000
we average how many fatal attacks a year?
Yeah.
Single digits for sure, and probably under 3.
Well, and consider how many tourists come up here and are hiking around in the backcountry, barely even bear spray on them. Like, I mean, it's not like you even really have to, I mean, do be careful, obviously, but like, I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't, and they still come out okay. Like,
but it seems like every spring and every bow season for archery elk hunting in the lower 48 in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, somebody gets killed.
Yeah.
At least once a year for the last
spring
several
shed
years.
hunting, and all kind. Like there was multiple attacks on shed hunters this year.
Yeah.
There was those poor high school kids got chewed up pretty good, and that I think there was a lady. I can't keep up with everybody, honestly, but it's a horrible deal to be out there and not have any method. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of DLP rules down there, maybe. But I'm sure it's
for sure there is.
It's probably a larger process for them than it would be for us up here.
Well, yeah, because it's a federally protected animal. Yeah, absolutely it is. However, the stories that I have seen and heard, actually, I've listened to some interviews on other podcasts with defenders in grizzly bear attacks in Montana and Wyoming, I believe it was. But their explanation of the process was it was pretty well handled and pretty easy and relatively painless. And it's kind of a pain in the neck. You got to take them back there and show them the scene as long as you're not hurt or in the hospital, something like that.
Right. Which is the same process here.
Right. But, for the most part, it's not that bad of a process. It's, not necessarily what you want to do with your next day following that instance. You'd love to just be able to skin that bear out and take it home. But from what I'm seeing down there, compared to even a few years ago, like it used to be a real event. Like everybody knew when there was another grizzly bear attack in the lower 48.
Right.
I remember when Todd Orr got mauled by that sow and cubs years ago, and he's a big proponent of bear spray, and he was handgun hunting, I believe it was, and he got mauled twice in the same morning by this sow.
Yeah, and she came back for him.
Walked down to his pickup truck, and that story was on the national news, right?
He took a selfie at the pickup truck.
Took a video,
being mauled by this bear. Took a video, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
and so,
guy's insane.
Yeah. Anyway,
in a good way.
You have examples like that of a really nasty bear attack that happens that everybody knows about, and now that's just
another one.
It's September in Montana, another bear attack. It's just commonplace now.
Well, and hopefully, that gets some people's attention and gets some things changed because it really needs to. And I feel for everybody that's dealing with that down there. I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine in Michigan over Thanksgiving, and he was telling me about an elk hunt they had gone on out in the western part of the U.S. and how they had to massively change their plans because there's, grizzlies in the area, and they were very aggressive grizzlies. and they had to, kind of adjust their approach and stuff because there's nothing you can really do about those grizzlies in there. So
I remember hearing hunters in the States talk about being afraid of grizzlies and like, man, they're just so much more dangerous and they're unpredictable. And I didn't get it at first. When I first heard that, it didn't make sense to me. Like, what do you mean? Like, I grew up around both kinds of bears.
Yeah.
And then I started, hearing all this, and did a lot more research and understanding into what was going on. And it makes a lot more sense. But yeah, we don't have, like I said, I grew up around grizzly bears and black bears.
They want nothing to do with you.
They're different animals up here for sure.
And if they do, I'll take a piece of them. Like,
no.
Right.
Because I can't.
Well, and especially in the southern part of the state, there's a lot more food. They're not usually hungry. Like they're, I mean, you see videos all the time of people walking backwards down a trail with a sow and cubs walking towards them, and she's not super spooked and they don't seem like they're starving, and you just step off the trail and let them walk by. Like that's Alaskan grizzlies and brown bears. Right. Like that's, you still obviously be careful, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I haven't experienced lower 48 grizzlies, but from what it sounds like, it's a whole different beast.
Now, don't get me wrong. I would totally still hunt in grizzly bear country down there because
yeah, absolutely. And
I would not let that hold me back from hunting down there. But
and that's my buddy. They still did. They just had to change like which valley they were in or something like that. So he harvested a nice bull.
So to wrap back really quickly to my statement about wolves in Colorado, it says if you just Google. Because Google is just that reliable. It says Colorado has finalized a plan to reintroduce wolves. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission will create and carry out a plan to reintroduce and manage gray wolves by the end of the 2023 calendar year. Ranchers will be fairly compensated for losses to wolves. The Colorado General Assembly will fund the reintroduction program. Gray wolves will be designated as non-game wildlife.
You can designate it whatever you want. It's a game animal.
That sounds like a Colorado thing. But it does say that they got some. It looks like they got wolves from Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah. And from what I can see, it looks like they do have wolves in there, and they are collared and they are being monitored. So,
well, hopefully it doesn't cause too much impact with the ranchers down there. I mean, that's a big deal. You reintroduce a whole new predator.
Has Colorado had a coyote problem?
I think in the southern part, maybe, because there's some plains down there.
There's definitely coyotes.
One of the reasons I don't hear, since we're on the topic, one of the reasons that I don't hear discussed a lot when people are talking about wolves and whether or not they want wolves brought back in or whether they should be able to kill them, immediately as soon as they're introduced, as some guys would like, is the fact that so many of these places where 50 years ago, I'll just say Americans, we killed all the wolves. 50, 100 years ago, like there's wolves. Wolves are bad. Let's kill them.
Right.
Well, and we killed all of them.
I miss the old days.
And, well, now here we are, and there's an overabundance of coyotes.
Yeah.
And so reintroducing wolves should help rebalance that. We don't have an overabundance of coyotes up here. Primarily, because there is other controlling factors like wolves.
Well, they're not the top of the food chain is the big thing,
right? And
that's why you see a lot of difference in behavior with them. You see, let's just use my home state, Kansas. What's going to, I mean, a coyote's about as big as predators you're going to get in Kansas, right? There's no black bears, there's no wolves, there's no anything.
So I'm not saying it's
and they come into a call like it's nothing.
Right. I'm not saying it's the only thing up here, but there's so many issues with coyotes in areas of the states.
I don't even know if I would say it's the primary reason there's less coyotes here, but it is definitely a factor.
Right.
Because wolves will eat anything they can get their hands on, right? I mean, they'll eat lesser canines. They'll eat, anything they can hunt down, basically.
Yeah.
But they're very territorial. They'll kill to keep those dogs out of their area.
Yeah.
Any kind of dog.
And that's why they're not as vocal up here too. Is coyotes, you don't hear them as be as vocal as you do in other parts.
Run into calls like they do in the States.
Yeah. So
I have some video footage that had.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you're not going to call and 5 coyotes hear it and then we'll come running.
It depends on where you're at.
It depends on where you're at, and because wolves are everywhere, but they're not everywhere at the same time.
Right.
So, But there's a lot of different contributing factors to why different things are the way that they are. But it is a fact that you introduce a fast, aggressive predator into an area, it's going to take a toll on other predator populations. Right. They'll hunt bears if they can get around bears. We've seen wolves kill black bears and stuff like that. It's not uncommon. So, but yeah, no, I think it'll be an adjustment period. I hope that they're taking. It said something about the ranchers will be compensated if anything happens. Hopefully,
that's pretty typically. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's actually a good compensation, not just a little handout. But because that's a big deal. These ranchers, they can't really be affording to lose huge amounts of their herd.
No.
So
no, I think the larger concern in the hunting community is probably the game populations.
Yeah, elk and whatnot. Yeah,
elk and mule deer and whitetails and. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting how that shakes out.
It'll be a balancing act, that's for sure.
Yeah. As long as they allow proper management,
right,
shouldn't be a problem.
Right. But cool. Well, let's take a break and then we'll dive into our main topic.
All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.
All right, folks. Well, like I said at the beginning of the show, welcome to December. For a lot of guys in the low 48, rifle season probably just ended. Unfortunately, depending on where they're at, maybe it goes into December, but archery season for most people still goes on strong. That's one thing I do like about lower 48 seasons is at least for archery, there seems to be a lot more play with the seasons than there is up here in Alaska. You might get like an extra week or two here in Alaska for archery season, but I guess
it depends on where you're at and what you're doing.
Some winter caribou stuff.
Oh, yeah. A lot of that winter caribou stuff up on the Haul Road goes a lot of the winter time.
Yeah.
Well, Well, the harvest numbers are pretty.
And you got to keep in mind here that there's not usually a rifle-only season.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's either or pretty much anywhere, everywhere here.
Right.
Unless it's archery only.
Or you're in a special,
right, or special use area or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas in the States, most of the time there's an archery portion, and when archery closes, rifle opens up, or there's a rifle portion when rifle closes, archery opens up, and sometimes there's a rifle muzzleloader archery.
Because they're trying to keep the separation so nobody gets shot.
Right.
But if you guys had a successful rifle season, definitely write into the show. Send us some pictures. If you got something cool, we're all just a bunch of hunting dudes up here. We like hearing stories, so feel free to write into the show.
I forgot to mention that one earlier.
Oh, what's that?
Maybe in the next one we'll reference that listener email.
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
You just
I know exactly which one you're talking about. We'll do that in a listener success story. We'll hit that in an opening topic next time.
And I'm looking forward to hearing back from that other listener who wrote in with a question about their hunt.
Anyway, right on. But so for us up here, there is still a little bit of hunting. I'm unfortunately going to miss this trip, but why don't you guys go into what y'all got planned for this month?
It's none of your business, James.
You ain't going, you don't get to know.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm prepping to go back deer hunting again here soon.
There you go. Spend some time on the beach.
There you go. Yeah,
preferably on the beach.
Just ordered a new beach suit. It's called chest waders.
Yep, that's the Alaskan beach suit.
What brand did you go with?
Lacrosse.
So
cool.
What made you go with those ones?
So last year,
other than Black Friday sales,
right? So I had my eye on them before that, but
Did you buy anything on Black Friday, James?
Not really, no.
Did you buy anything else besides waders on Black Friday?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
spent
okay.
A ton of money on Black Friday.
I was looking at different stuff, but
I didn't buy a single.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. I bought one thing on Black Friday.
Mm.
Yeah, I bought a new torque wrench
Ah,
for scope mounting.
There you go.
You bought a
That
Target.
wasn't on clearance.
It doesn't mean, but you bought it on Black Friday.
Which torque wrench did you go with?
Oh yeah, that's right. I bought the same
The
one.
Wheeler.
The Wheeler?
Yeah.
I love the Wheeler.
I already had one, but it was the
Oh, that's-
digital one.
That's right. I forgot
a
you
little
had the digital one.
Digital beeper screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You didn't? Yeah. Yeah.
It's electronic, man.
Yeah, that's true. I've always had the mechanical one, so that's
So
yeah.
I bought the spring-loaded one that
Okay,
just
yeah.
clicks over
Yep.
when you hit your torque.
Yeah, that's
So-
a good
I think
one.
they have a new digital one that's spring loaded.
Like a combo.
That's it operates with the cap on the back, but it's
Yeah.
digital.
That'd
I
be
think they
handy.
might.
That'd be really
But-
nice.
Real nice.
Now I have to buy a third one.
Really, really nice, Clark.
Anyhow,
There's a Christmas reference for you.
There's a whole backstory to that stuff.
That looks
Maybe
like a
we'll
real
get it.
high quality item, Clark.
I'm sure there's quite a few listeners understanding that.
Oh,
You know, Stone
but
Glacier.
the relevance to this time of year.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Stone
true.
Glacier does a bang up job with their advertising
Mhm.
in reference to Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Lyle designed I think it was Lyle that made up a logo for that a long time ago, and
Mhm.
it's great. Anybody who wants some Christmas cheer, go over
Yeah.
and shop those Christmas designs from Stone Glacier. They're awesome. Anyway,
Mo, back to the waiters.
Waiters. So they're
Yeah.
the lacrosse Swamp Fox. Let me pull them up here. Swamp Fox something.
so you feel like
they're
you're
full
gonna,
chest waiter. They're rubber 1,000-gram. They're the 1,000-gram boots.
Okay.
Insulated rubber up to the knee on the front,
Oh,
and then there's also wraparound rubber around the rear end on the back.
Oh, nice. For sitting?
and- yeah, for sitting. Yeah, and I think maybe just into the crotch too a little bit.
Okay.
Oh,
so
that's good.
so they say they're good for bust and brush.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with most waiters is they don't have any kind of protection for
And-
the high friction areas.
And they're a nylon upper. They're supposed to be, waterproof, all this stuff. I read a few reviews where people said they had some seepage after a few hours,
Oh, really? Yeah.
but I'm not planning on being in the water for a few hours.
Is 1,000-gram the only one they offer it in, or do they offer a
No,
lower?
they offer
they have a
lower
couple
and
different
higher.
ones? Okay,
Yeah, they offer a lot of options. So these are the lacrosse insulated Alpha Swamp Fox.
Mm.
And I got the Mossy Oak Bottomland ones.
of course you did.
Because if that camo pattern's offered, I'm not buying anything else. But, it's the best camo pattern ever created. Changed my mind.
If you ain't first, you're last. That's funny.
Anyhow, so they have the Alpha Agility, which is a with 1,600-gram boots.
Whoa.
Wow.
They go
That's
from
gonna be warm.
600,000-gram, 1,600-gram, 1,200-gram in the boots. And
Do they
depending
have
on the ones you
anything
get-
under 1,000-gram boots?
Yeah, they have some 600s
Okay.
Okay.
in an option or
just,
two.
Yeah, just like the hip boots.
Well, and yeah, because if you're doing any kind of hiking around and stuff, 1,000 or higher would get real warm real quick.
I ran the 800s
Yeah.
in the knee boots last year,
Okay. Yeah.
and it really wasn't that. I think it's because it's a rubber outer, and rubber outer
It
Unless you're wearing
definitely
bunny
sucks
boots,
the heat out. Yeah.
just sucks the heat out. I mean, I've talked to
Yeah.
guys that'll wear the
Mhm.
1,600 knee boots in
Gotcha.
the winter around here,
They freeze solid.
and they still, in
Yeah.
the real cold, 20, 30 below,
yeah.
they still freeze solid because
Yeah.
they're just that rubber outer layer,
Mm.
Yeah.
which gets cold.
Yeah.
Right.
So I like that it has the protected regions of the knees and the
Mhm.
the hind quarters. 'Cause-
The hind quarters. Oh, boy.
because I had the
Freestone.
the tributary. I thought they were.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
Sims tributary. I'm pretty sure they were. That was a clearance deal from last year. But those they're the Gore-Tex ones. So they're
Okay.
what are those? 4-layer?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think they're 4-layer. They might even be higher than that.
And those are chest waders.
Yeah, chest waders. And
Sims.
they were good, and they were waterproof, but the problem was they were fragile.
Yeah.
So anytime I think I ripped them probably 2 or 3 different times down there on whatever it was, a 7-day trip. And whether it was rocks or busting through the brush, they just didn't hold up to more hunting style activity rather than fishing per se.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like is that those ones have high insulated boots, because the only thing I remember from that trip, other than the joy of killing a buck, was cold feet. Because the tributary don't have boots on them; they just have the little neoprene socks.
Yeah.
And so then you put your shoes, which are designed to let water in and out, basically.
Right.
And they do work, I'll say that. But
oh
my, is it cold?
Yeah.
That is not enough insulation for the Alaskan Ocean.
It's pretty cold.
So the other thing I like about these is one of the feature they have is you're supposed to be able to roll the top down. And there's like a pocket or straps you can tuck it in so you can wear them as pants.
Okay. Yeah.
I have no idea how well that's going to work.
Yeah.
If it's going to be convenient to do that, or if it'll just be convenient just to keep them, up over the shoulders.
Yeah. Do they have any kind of a front zipper on
them? No.
No. Okay.
I don't believe. No, they have a waist belt.
Okay. Yeah.
For tightening it up, but
that's a good idea.
So you're going to be in trouble.
I think it's going to be a unbuckle, lay down, and wiggle.
Well, that's not what I was referring to, but we can move on.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the price point on those?
Normally $430.
Okay.
With the Black Friday deal, which is going on through the 3rd, so the day before this airs.
Sorry about your luck if you missed it.
$258.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
Mm.
I'll say compared to some of the big names, like Sitka makes a really nice pair of waders I would love to get my hands on, but they're $1,000.
I'm looking forward to seeing what First Light comes out with.
Yeah, they've been talking about it for a while.
Now, my guess is they're going to be $1,000, and
all day.
Yeah, but
no, to have an option that's insulated with built-in, actual boot waders,
right? That
have a protected knee, and to where you're not going to be, tearing them up if you have to kneel down to take a shot or something like that. Because that's how I ripped mine, was kneeling to shoot in the rocks, and so to have that at a fairly affordable price range, that's actually pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to look into those.
Yeah, they have little cinches to tighten them up on your legs. And,
okay,
and like I said, around the waist there's the belt. So I don't know. We'll see how they do.
Right on. So that's a new piece of gear. So go into a little bit about this trip without giving too much away, obviously. But what are you guys setting out to do? I mean, I know what you're setting out to do, but tell.
Well, in an ideal world, we'll spend I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days out there, somewhere around there.
Hunt big game.
Yeah, hunt big game mostly.
Yeah,
and in an ideal world, we'll have some good weather, and the water will be calm enough that we can run the boat around where we need to get and access the spots that we want to get to. That's kind of an important dictating factor.
Yeah,
that is
in the success or failure of hunting down in that part of the state. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I've been watching a lot of activity on the on the Blacktail forums that exist up here in Alaska, whether that's on Facebook or whether that's on like Rockslide or things like that. There's a lot of information out there. A lot of guys posting their deer kills from the fall already. The rut is pretty well over. There's definitely a second rut that comes into swing. For the stragglers that didn't fulfill their
calling,
desires and their instinctual abilities. Yeah, and so that's probably happening, if not right now, then in the next few days or so.
Okay.
But the main rut that usually happens about the middle of the month, and it varies, on the. I suppose the word could be severity of how obvious it is that it's going on, from year to year, depending on conditions. The deer will be more or less active and responsive to calling. But the rut always happens right around the same time because the fawns are always there at the same time in the spring when they get born. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
Right.
But the rut seems to have produced a lot of great bucks. There was a lot of great deer killed down there in that part of the state this year. I haven't seen as many giant bucks come off of Kodiak this year.
Okay.
Certainly a few.
Yeah, I know some people that went deer hunting down there. They said it was hard hunting.
But not as many.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, now that you mention that, I'm thinking of 5 different people that I know of, 5 different individuals that went down there and had very little success.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking to years past. But yeah, the southeast part of the state, Ketchikan, Juneau, that part of the state, certainly Prince of Wales gets a lot of attention. Kuyu Island, that area is well publicized for its deer hunting.
Right.
Love it or hate it, that's just part of how things are.
What it is. Yeah.
Certain people own, certain people hunt that part of the state frequently and produce a lot of outdoor media, and they're not very secretive about where that takes place. And so, but on that note, on Prince of Wales, a fellow that I know trapped a bunch of wolves yesterday.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
He caught several in his traps.
Good.
And he was expressing his relief for that because he hadn't had any luck just yet.
I was going to say, did they do that extended or that extra season this year again?
I didn't check into it.
Yeah, because I know last year they added a whole extra section to the trapping season.
Yeah,
for bulls,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I thought I heard something about them closing it down early.
Okay.
And then I saw his pictures yesterday that he had caught a bunch and he said, finally. And so I thought,
that's been quite a problem there.
Yeah, so that's at least good news anyway. But yeah, there is, for those that aren't aware, we've talked about this before about the wolf problems on Prince of Wales. That's a big deal that they're fighting down there.
Yeah.
Underestimations of wolf populations and, pie in the sky and reasons as to why they think Fish and Game is lying to them, or are they lying, or are they just underfunded and can't study it enough? Or
well, and I think you have errors on both sides of the, you got people that don't think wolves are a problem at all, and then you got people that think the wolves are the entire problem. And I don't think either thought process is correct there. No. I think wolves are a contributing factor. I think there's probably several factors.
Wolves are certainly the main predator for deer in the southeast islands of Alaska, but black bears take a huge toll as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They kill a lot of deer.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of wolves, I want to see if we can find an update on what's going on. Where was that? Pleasant Island? Where they were eating the sea otters?
Oh, yeah.
I want to see if we can find an update on that.
I've seen a little bit
call
about
an area
that.
biologist.
Yeah.
See what's going on.
Yeah, I might have to do that. See if they want.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Want a group of guys to go down there and help with that. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Anyway, so wolves and black bears are the kind of the main predators. Thankfully, in December, there's not a whole lot of bear activity down in that part of the state.
Yeah.
Even all the way down there. There's just not a whole lot of bears still out with that much snow on the ground.
Food still dries up.
And now, if we get enough snow, that's the case.
Yeah.
I have been down there before in December when I've had a lot less snow, and there's been more bear sign.
Okay.
Than there was, say, last year. Last year we had a good amount of snow, at least when you guys were there.
Yeah.
Right.
The week prior to that was not really the case. Not a whole lot of snow, not a whole lot of bear sign either, but not a whole lot of deer.
Yeah.
The snow kind of changes things. There's definitely a lull after the rut ends. The bucks kind of disappear for a couple of weeks, it seems like. Okay, not a couple of weeks, but usually for about a week, there's a slow time.
They're probably recouping their energy
where they go up high and they kind of disappear for a few days and they recoup and they eat and they stay up there. And then they come back down.
Yeah.
And they find me. That's kind of the idea.
Surprise.
Yeah, right. So anyway, back to the original point. In an ideal world, there's not going to be any bears out, at least very many. And the area that I hunt doesn't really have a wolf problem.
Yeah.
So
right.
That just is what it is. But population, like for the entire state, while we're kind of on that, is about 200,000 animals for black-tailed deer. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Just in Alaska?
About 200,000 blacktails in Alaska.
That's a good number of deer.
That's what I could find. And the yearly average harvest for the last 10 years is between 12,500 and 15,000. That's a lot of deer
harvested.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That is a lot of deer.
Night.
Yeah.
I mean, comparable to the population, that's sustainable, I'm sure. But like,
Oh yeah.
that's
yeah.
That's a lot of deer.
Right. And you know, some years are going to be a little bit lower than that due to some harsh winters.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be really interested to see what the numbers from this year are now that Kodiak has been reduced to 1 deer per non-resident, as opposed to it used to be 3.
Was it really?
I think it was. Yeah, I think you're right.
Is it really only 1 per non-resident now?
Yeah, that got changed this
They
year.
feel like they were just taking too many?
Kodiak had some harsh winters in a lot of areas, and they were kind of tired of. Well, okay, this is secondhand information. I've never experienced this or personally known anybody that has this exact problem, but the word on the street was that some residents had complained, and there was evidence of that these charters that had kind of like a stay on board boat service, DIY non-guided service, would just cruise from bay to bay to bay with non-residents, or paying residents. It's not the non-residents' fault,
right? Yeah.
But that those DIY transporters were just going from bay to bay to bay, and they would shoot their 3 deer per person for non-res, and however many for residents as well. I think it was 4.
I think you're right.
For residents in most places on Kodiak, which I don't think that's changed.
No,
I haven't checked.
Last I heard, the deer quotas for residents haven't changed anywhere.
Yeah,
that I know of. If they have, let us know.
So folks did have a lot to say in opposition against those DIY guys, and so there was several proposals written about that last year, and that got changed to 1 deer per non-resident.
Yeah.
And, to be fair, in some of those Blacktail forums that I've been keeping up with, there are a lot of non-residents that post in there. And several of them from Kodiak this year with their deer from Kodiak. And a lot of them still paid to go on a DIY boat trip.
Sure. Yeah.
And they shot 1 really nice buck per person. And one of them went out of his way to make the comment and make it very clear that he was not upset at Fish and Game for lowering the bag limit.
Yeah.
And that he appreciated that they were trying to manage that.
And especially somewhere like Kodiak. Kodiak, of all places in
Draws
Alaska,
a lot of
probably
attention.
gets a lot of non-resident attention.
Right.
Probably more than almost anywhere else in the state.
I'm sure.
I mean, arguably.
Yeah.
Between that and, POW and all these other well-known, well-advertised islands. So, I mean, I could definitely see how, your density of non-resident hunters would probably be a lot higher there than other places you'd have to worry about.
Right.
But, and in defense, for anybody that is upset, a lot of deer hunting or moose hunting or caribou hunting in this state is all done for filling freezers.
Right.
Obviously we all love hunting. We all love, we go out there and we'll hunt things, even if our freezers are full, because we know somebody that can use the meat, or, maybe we just want to, still top it off a little bit. The freezer's not all the way empty yet, but but a lot of what we do here is to feed ourselves.
Right.
And so if the option is to cut the limit for anybody, it should not be the people that are deer hunting to fill their freezers. Right. And especially somewhere like Kodiak, they don't have, caribou and moose and all this different stuff. So, deer is kind of what they got.
Right.
And so I support that, I think. And I think that it still provides people a great opportunity to come up here and shoot a quality buck, maybe just be a little bit more selective in your shooting. But yeah.
No, I got nothing wrong with that. I think that's probably a good decision, at least for now. It could change down the road.
Sure.
If the numbers rebound in a big way, then that's great. And that's a win for everybody.
And that was the state that made the rule too. Is a big thing there too.
Yeah.
I like when the state makes the rules.
Yeah.
We'll just leave that one at that.
Can of worms spilled everywhere. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting back down there and going deer hunting again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That has really become one of my favorite trips, if not my most anticipated trip of the year.
How many years have you hunted deer down in the state, southern regions of Alaska?
Let's see here.
I think this would be what, your ninth?
This is my 8th year.
8th year? Okay.
And I believe my 10th overall trip.
Nice.
Yeah.
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 So speaking of that, one thing I wanted to ask you about. So is this the first year you've hunted both early and late season in the same year?
Yeah.
What's your comparison there, I should say?
Well, so in August, my wife and I went with Mr. Lampers, Ryan and Paley, and the cameraman, Mr. Kayam. And that was a great experience. I've wanted to fly out in August like that for a long time, but I never really made the time to do it. You know, it takes prioritizing it, and August is also sheep season and caribou season, and
everything opens. Well, not
getting
everything,
ready for moose hunting in
lot of stuff
September,
opens.
and guiding work got in the way of it a few times. And so I just finally said, you know what? I'm going to get this trip together. And I talked to Ryan about it, and I kind of gauged his interest, and he was all in. He really wanted to bring Paley. And we decided that we would make that trip happen. And it was a great experience.
Yeah.
I will absolutely do it again. Fantastic experience. And that film is going to be epic. Like I don't look forward to watching a lot of hunt films, but
Unless it's got your face on.
even though I was there,
right?
I enjoy just seeing it all again because it's
absolutely.
December now, and I've forgotten about little things that happened while I was there.
Right.
Yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed that hunt.
I'm excited to see it too, honestly.
But comparatively to the later in the season hunts, I've gone in October, and that's a horrible choice.
Oh, really?
Awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful.
That's what kept me away.
Oh, that's right. That's the first time you
I'll
went
say
down.
it like this. If you have a desire to hurt yourself mentally, to put yourself through such anguish and really just go through something that'll make you question why you even decide to call yourself a hunter, then go blacktail deer hunting in October in the Southeast Islands where the vegetation is thick and the conditions are just going to be wet and right around that 40 to 45 degrees range.
Right.
Just cold enough that it'll kill you at night if you get stuck out there without shelter, but just warm enough that it'll keep you alive a long enough time that you'll remember it. So
I caught that accent.
So October is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
They're not down low enough yet off of those hillsides. So in August, we had a great hunt above the brush line.
Right.
Because that's where all the deer are.
Right.
They're up above the brush line. They're up there having that high quality grass feed. They're putting on a ton of fat in preparation for the rut, in preparation for the snow covering all those mountains.
Yep.
They're up there almost at the same elevation as the mountain goats are.
Yeah. And that's where they hang out primarily. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. As soon as the snow is gone and the summer feed pops out, boom. I mean, they are straight up the mountain. That's where they like it. And they have the most protection up there from predators.
Right.
They can see, they can get out of the bugs, they can have a nice breeze, and so on and so forth. And they need that high quality feed to grow their antlers in that short growing cycle.
Right.
And so in August, they're up well above tree line. I mean, we're not busting through brush for anything. And it was, it was like an out of body experience every day. I felt, man, this is nice. I don't have to bust brush. I kind of got spoiled. Not kind of, I really got spoiled. We didn't have rain while we were hunting.
Oh, really?
Not the entire time.
No kidding.
It rained cats and dogs when we tried to fly out of there. But while we were hunting, really no rain to speak of.
Good.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Way too much sunny weather, and I'm afraid to ever go back to that spot again in fear of utter disappointment.
That was your one good time.
Now I'll go back there and spend a week in a lightning storm and not even see a deer in the clouds.
Right.
But so anyway, that's August.
Mm-hmm.
As you get snow in some time in the October timeframe, there starts to be some snow way up high. The temperatures drop. You get less and less sunlight. And that grass starts to die off way up high. So that feed kind of goes away. The bucks have all rubbed the velvet off their antlers, usually by the end of August or sometime in that time frame. And then they start gradually moving down into the old growth, into that subalpine, and then into the top of the old growth as the season progresses. By October, they haven't moved down enough to a spot where you can hike up quickly in a day and get to them and then come back down.
Yeah. Right.
So they're in that no man's land where if you get dropped off above them, if you can get dropped off above them in a float plane, if the lakes aren't freezing up there,
right,
then you have to hike down into some brush to find them. Sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll still be out in the open if you've had some good weather stretches. If you get dropped off in a boat or you're hunting with a boat from the bottom up, from salt line to summit, then you've got to walk all the way up through all that brush, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a task.
Yeah.
It's nasty walking. It's really kind of a miserable, awful experience. Yeah, like I said, prepare yourself for disappointment.
Can't wait to do again.
But yeah, here I am doing it again for 8 years in a row.
Right.
There's just something about it. And I think for me, it's the fact that it's just something different. I don't hunt out in the low 48.
Right.
I haven't hunted outside of Alaska since I came back.
Right.
10, 11 years ago. Something like that.
And arguably, that's one of the best things that we all love about Alaska is it offers every single style of hunt you could ever want. Like you've got wide open plains you can go hunt in. You've got thick swamp you can go hunt in. You've got mountains you can go hunt in.
You got rainforest.
You do stand hunting,
temperate
still
rainforest.
hunting. All kind. Like if there's a style of hunt, you can do it here in Alaska.
And if you want to have to wear hunter's orange and hunt with a crowd, you can hunt the 40-mile caribou.
Exactly right.
If that's your thing.
Remember why you moved here?
I had to throw that one in there. So anyway, October is a complete bust for a lot of my purposes. And then I started going in November, and I figured out that was when the rut actually happened. And this was a long time ago. I figured that out. The second year that I went,
didn't you go with your dad and other family members? Second year?
No, that wasn't the second year. That was me and one other guy.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. We hunted together for 10 full days. Had pretty good weather for November. We hit the rut reasonably well. We killed, I think it was 6 total deer, and I shot my brown bear. I shot an 8.5 foot brown bear.
Yeah.
Which, for the part of the state that I was in, at that particular spot that I was at, was a really nice bear.
Yeah.
And I didn't know much about brown bear hunting back then. That was a number of years ago, 7 years ago, 7 or 8 now.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah.
So that was the second year. And that was, I think that was about the second week in November, somewhere in there. And then after that, for a number of years, I kept going in November, always trying to hit that rut.
And
I only ever hit it perfectly one time.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that's the biggest struggle with it all.
I went down with some family. My dad and my brother was along.
Okay.
And we cleaned house.
I remember that.
Oh man, we cleaned house. We did so well. I can't even talk about the best day of deer hunting because it even surpassed the August hunt. I'm talking about calling in buck after buck after buck in a day.
Right.
Just, I mean, they were like on a conveyor belt through the woods, just running in. And I kept on shooting. And my hunting partner kept on shooting. And we just about could have limited out on our tags in one day.
Wow.
Both of us.
That's insane.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
Never seen it like that before. Never seen it like that since. 2 years later, that spot, big old mudslide happened. Knocked down all my old growth where those bucks like to rut and rub on some of those trees. Spot's never been the same since.
Yeah.
So I keep going back every year and trying to find a new spot.
There you go.
Because they're going to be in there somewhere.
There you go.
But so anyway, that's all I have to say. I hunted the November slot, give or take a few days here and there, trying to find that November peak rut. And I only ever found it the one time.
Yeah.
So I've tried December for a few years now, and that seems to work out pretty well. It is definitely post-rut, but the deer are still responding to calls.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more challenging in some ways. They're less predictable in where they're going to be because they might be 500 foot up the hill. They might be working the beaches. There might be 2 feet of snow. There might be no snow.
Well, and as we saw...
And if there's no snow, like what we had happen last year to 3 of us when we were there together, you're up a creek without a paddle.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, in total, what happened to us last year was it changed multiple times.
Yeah.
Just throughout the 8 days we were out there, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
And
when you guys first got there was almost no snow.
There was no snow and it was super cold.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a deer to be seen.
No.
And then it absolutely dumped snow.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden all the deer showed up.
About 3 days into the hunt, it dumped snow. And we ended up getting 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah.
In like a day or two.
A day or two.
Yeah.
And then the beach hunting started being really good. They came all the way down looking for feed.
Yeah.
And then it rained.
Yeah.
Then it was just pouring down rain and all the snow went away again. And then it was just, and that's a huge thing. I mean, just in a 7 to 10 day period, you can have to adjust your game plan daily.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No, it's a very, very interesting strategy. And that, my buddy, Remington is coming down with Moe and I. It's just 3 of us this year. For this trip, I mean. And Remington and I both agree that that's what makes it the most fun to go in December. You're not thinking about the rut.
Yeah.
You're not able to guarantee that they're going to be above the brush line like you would in August. You can't guarantee that it's going to snow.
Right.
You can't guarantee that anything's going to even come into your call.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some hunts where we've gone home and hunted a week and a half and shot 1 deer in December. And yet here we are again. And because there's something about that challenge that just makes it special.
Right. Yeah.
And the duck hunting is phenomenal. So
that is
that's a
true.
new thing. You didn't do that till last year.
I didn't do that until last year. And
Yeah.
I personally, I still haven't even done it. I haven't even picked up a shotgun except to hand you guys yours out of the boat when we got back to camp at night. But yeah, I haven't shot any ducks or waterfowl down there ever.
That was a lot of fun last year.
Yeah,
How
you
many
guys.
what did we shoot? 7 different species?
I think
guys
so.
shot
6 or 7, yeah.
Wow.
You guys shot.
And we shot like
Pretty consistently every day.
You shot birds every day, I think.
I think every single day we were shooting
there
birds.
there was a day we got like 3 deer and we didn't get any ducks that day.
Oh, that's true because we were speeding back.
It was getting
because
Getting past
the recovery had taken a little bit longer than we expected. So because typically, we would end a little bit early and then go hunt ducks and kind of commit that last little bit before the end of shooting light because shooting light ends when legal light ended. We still had enough light to get back to camp and do whatever we needed to do. So
exactly.
we would dedicate a little bit of time at the end of each day for duck hunting. And that was a great plan. I had a great
I thought you guys killed ducks every day.
We didn't get ducks that day. I specifically remember getting back. And
Are you sure?
Which day was that?
No,
because I've got a picture of 3 deer on the beach and a bunch of ducks.
I'm pretty sure we did actually. Because I have I know that picture. I have the same picture.
Yeah.
There was one day we didn't get ducks.
Was there?
There was. I know there was. Yeah. But I think we shot like 14 total or something like that.
It was
between the 2 of us.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was a really good time. And the fun part for me was, being able to try the different species.
Yeah.
And
we loved it.
Cook them up different ways and whatnot and just have a great time with it. And I mean, the golden eyes.
Phenomenal.
Golden eyes are my favorite.
And we brought some back too.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is kind of an interesting tangent that I wasn't planning on going down, but yet here we are. And
I love these.
My foot's on the gas. So Buckle up or get behind me.
He's shifting gears, folks.
The other day on YouTube, a new to me hunting show popped up.
Okay.
And it's probably not a show that I would watch a whole lot, but it's Barstool Outdoors.
Okay.
You're familiar with Barstool Sports?
Mm-mm.
Okay, with David Portnoy. Anyway, interesting story to how the company started as a whole. I think Rogan has had him on a few times to talk about random, topics.
Okay.
But Dave Portnoy is a really interesting guy, but he started kind of, as I understand it, it's related to the Barstool Outdoors franchise, or if it's just called the Barstool franchise, whatever that is. But it's Barstool Outdoors. And it's a gal that's kind of the host of the show, if you will.
Okay.
And they had on Old Man Ranella for a migratory bird hunt. And Steve was on there, and it was not far off of like a main highway system. There was cars going by in the background.
Yeah.
But there were all these ducks and geese coming through, and they cleaned house on those birds. And, Steve was packing them up, and the girl was missing them a bunch, and he was giving her a hard time. I don't watch a whole lot of waterfowl hunting.
Yeah.
But that was entertaining.
I've seen that pop up, and I haven't watched it.
You need to watch it. He makes some really hilarious comments. Like I actually laughed out loud when he said a few things. It was actually really entertaining because it wasn't on his show, So he seemed a lot more relaxed and just not quite so
serious.
Yeah, serious.
Right, yeah.
Like I have to be this person for my show. It was just neat to see that side of it. But he made a comment about one of the ducks, and he said, and I forget which one it was because I'm not that big into duck hunting.
You're not duck literate.
No, I'm not a big Duck Dynasty fan. But he mentioned, he said, that this kind of duck is really good when they've been feeding on grain. But if I were to shoot one of these at my cabin in Alaska on the saltwater, this thing would taste terrible, or something to that effect. And it was a duck that I recognized that I thought that you guys had killed at least one of them last year.
Probably
if I'm not mistaken.
We killed a lot of
And I just wanted to kind of wrap that around to say we didn't have any bad ducks last year.
Yeah.
There were some that were
less good.
Less good.
Yeah.
Really?
But I would eat them all over again. Like there was none that were
I thought they were all plenty good.
Yeah, there were none that I would say I'll never eat that kind of again.
Yeah.
It was just okay. I like the goldeneye better. Maybe it's more tender, or it took the seasoning better, or whatever. But like none of them really took a bad taste. I don't think, which surprised me because I've heard a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah. Here's what I'm wondering: where did those ducks directly come from when we find them?
That part I don't know.
In that part of the state,
at the migration pattern.
So I was studying migration patterns on those ducks before we went last year, and I'll be getting into that a little bit again this year. Just trying to learn as much about the ducks before the hunt as I can. And what I remember, you get like 20 species of duck plus that come through Southeast.
Wow.
There's a lot of ducks. And now we didn't have 20 species while we were down there. There were maybe 10. Depending on the time of year, right? And there's some of the real popular ones weren't there, although a few of them were. The Barrow's goldeneye seemed to be the ones that were there the most, and they also
beautiful bird
to taste phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some friends from down there, and one of them said, the older one of them said that those ducks, oh man, all those ducks down there taste terrible.
Yeah.
And the other one of them said, oh no, those Barrow's goldeneye are real good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you get what I'm going at with that.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And now you said where they come from. Some of them stay on the coast of Alaska. Yeah. Some of them fly inland Alaska. Some of them head into Canada. There's
and
all
then
different.
come back out to Southeast.
It's all different migration pattern.
Way.
But are they if they're there, let's say November, December time, they've been in Alaska for a while and they just haven't gone south, or they're just coming up.
So
it would make sense to me that they've been here for a while.
So for some of them, that is south.
Yeah.
Southeast is south.
Right.
That's as far as they go?
I believe that's the case. Some of them, then, that is their...
It wouldn't be unheard of. It's
And some of
relatively
them,
temperate compared to other parts of Alaska.
depending on the time of the year, some of them that's their north, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And some of them just go kind of more of an east to west.
I'd be really interested to know if
So,
some of those
Now,
ducks.
I'm sure somebody's going to be ripping into me on something I've just said because I'm saying all of this like,
well, this would be
Well,
a
from
really
looking at
good
migration
topic to
patterns a
revisit
year ago,
altogether.
I'm actually I'll put something out. If you have a lot of experience
oh yeah,
with
absolutely.
waterfowl hunting in Alaska, let us know, and maybe we'll even bring you on the show
Yeah.
and to talk about it with a little bit more, or a lot more knowledge than we have. But,
Right.
Yeah. That's something that really intrigues me, though. Is just thinking back to how good most of those birds were,
Right.
at least as far as I can remember. I
Yeah.
didn't have any one of them that I thought was poor tasting.
And I know there is a big difference in between, freshwater duck and sea duck, and you got, floaters and divers.
Yeah.
And, the difference in taste is great between, all those different
Right.
types.
Just because of what they're eating.
what they're eating and whatnot. And so maybe it could all just be, preference.
You got to think about how we cooked them all too.
Cast iron.
We fried, we cast iron fried every single one of those ducks.
Yeah.
No. Nope.
Did we not?
I cooked a couple of them over the cook stove wrapped in tinfoil,
Oh, that's right.
That's
I
right.
forgot about
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
slathered in butter and onions and sauce.
But still, none of them were really cooked more like a duck is usually cooked.
Yeah.
And so I think that may have a lot to do with it.
I cooked them exactly like I cook blacktail deer.
Yeah.
We were camping, right?
Yeah.
It was quick. It was easy. It
You've only
tasted
got
great.
so many cooking options.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff you can cook that way, and it's going to taste good when
Yeah.
it wouldn't taste good in a more traditional meal. So
I don't know. I've eaten a couple of them back home roasted, and they still taste really good.
Oh yeah, I
So,
mean we did that with a couple of those golden eyes, and they were phenomenal. But the golden eyes are a good duck.
That's true.
So I
That's
shot
true.
one of those black scoters,
Yeah, the scoters.
which
Yep.
phenomenal, cool, really cool duck, right?
Yeah.
But in my mind, that was one of the ones that didn't taste quite as good.
Oh,
Did we get any eiders?
We didn't. No,
We
they
didn't?
weren't. They
Okay.
weren't there.
Yeah, I didn't think they were.
You know what else I'm adding to the trip this year?
Gonna do fishing.
Fishing rod.
I was
There
hoping you were.
go.
I've already got a rod and reel.
Now you're talking.
Just one.
Just that's all you need.
I guess
Yeah.
this one guy's got to hold the camera, right?
Because I'm dropping one guy off to set up for ducks, and then I'm gonna go out and rip up some lips, and then one guy's gonna be on the beach with the other guy with a shotgun waiting for a buck to walk out.
There
So,
you go.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm sure we'll all be fishing at some
So
point.
I also want to
yeah.
try to get some geese this year.
Oh, me too, dude. After last year,
And I've talked to some people about that, about
Have
the
you?
tactics, because we found wow, these are really hard to hunt when we
Yeah.
tried to hunt them last year.
If you could legally shoot them with a 300 Win Mag, it wouldn't have been that hard. But unfortunately, for us,
my
at least,
tactic was gonna be to, just in our travels,
Mhm.
find a bay where they're kind of hanging out way up in the grass flats, and just put me ashore,
yeah.
and I'm just gonna have to stalk them because oftentimes they're not that far from the tree line.
See, we tried that.
They're within shotgun range of the tree line.
We tried that, but not from the tree line.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Not,
that's
not
what I was
from like
line.
in the trees.
Yeah.
Like just pretend you're stalking a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And he's on the beach. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You definitely wouldn't approach him from the open.
Right.
Right.
That could definitely
So,
work. Yeah.
That's
I was
what I was
thinking,
told to do.
grab your
Yeah.
shotgun, load up your Magnum, your Magnum bird shot.
Yep.
You're 1 in 5 bismuth and steel.
1 and 3.
I got 1 in 5.
I'm
No, I
get-
got 2 and 5, and I got a couple different loads.
I'm going with 1 and 3.
I've got bismuth and tungsten loads.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going with bismuth.
There went your retirement account.
Yeah.
They're a steel tungsten steel bismuth combo.
So I'm just holding out for hammer bullets to make us some.
There
bird
we
shot.
go. There we go.
But anyway, yeah, that was the same tactic I'd kind of researched and heard the exact same thing, was just stalk them. Just
Yeah.
pop out of the trees and let them have it.
That's kind of
So-
what I'd heard too. So
Well, see, and that's part of the joy of a trip like this.
Oh,
is,
yeah.
it's just
I'm just
you
trying
do all
something new.
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, different deer hunting.
I
different
couldn't
duck
care
hunting,
less
different-
if I kill a buck, man.
Right.
I'm there for the
It's
birds
a winter
and the
retreat.
fish.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, it is a lot of fun, and there are so many other things that you can turn it into. It
Mhm.
just makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of a lot of fun,
Mm.
I deserve a little bit of credibility for that segue, gents.
Well, we got to figure out what the segue
right.
is first.
You know what's more fun than deer hunting?
What's that?
Facebook polls.
Ooh, there we go. Hammer Bullets produces what we at the Northern Hunter consider to be the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are easy to load, extremely accurate, and best of all, they're always in stock and ready to ship. The guys at Hammer designed them so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, it sheds its petals, initiating a massive energy dump while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration. These bullets are built with 100% focus on how they perform on game, and their proprietary designs produce great BCs with specialized pressure grooves for amazing inherent accuracy and speed. They have a minimum expansion velocity of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots, but with no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity round like the Weatherby 30-378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com and use discount code TheNorthernHunter to drop the hammer on your next adventure.
So there is of course, I'm kidding, guys. There is a group on Facebook that I'm part of that's all about Sitka blacktail deer hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago now, I posted a poll on there. I was just curious.
Yeah.
It's all blacktail deer hunting. I was curious on cartridge preference.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Alaska deer hunting.
And that can become a little bit of a heated debate there.
Oh, yeah.
No
Especially
way.
on Facebook.
No.
Wait till you see what the other poll options that were added.
All right. So go through the ones you initially put in there, and then what got added.
So the ones I originally put in there were 30-06, 270, 300 Win Mag, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, 243, 308, 7mm 08, and 7mm Remington Magnum.
It's a pretty good spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like those were really common cartridges. They've
Yeah.
all been out for a long time. Well, except the 6.5 PRC. Even the Creedmoor has been out since 2007 now.
It's a lot older than most people give it credit for. Even the PRC is 4 years old now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been out for a little while.
I think 2018 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 30-06 was the clear winner
Yeah.
by number of votes. It got 171 out of 885 total votes
Nice.
on the poll. So 19% of the votes,
Mhm.
which is about what I expected. The 270 and the 300 Win Mag and the 308 all pretty much tied for second place.
Okay.
They all took about 11 or 12% of the votes. The 300 Win Mag, the 6.5 Creedmoor had about, 5%, 46 votes. 6.5 PRC only had 9 votes.
Really?
243 Winchester had 54 votes, so 6%. 708 and 7 Rem Mag. The 7 Rem Mag here had 39 votes at 4%, and the 708 finished with 34 votes at 3%. Now, this is what gets entertaining. Because if you're familiar with the Facebook polls, you can add poll options and then select your own choice.
Howitzer.
I will continue reading. Depends where I'm hunting. Was added by an individual.
How many votes did that get?
That's
I've
actually
never heard of that cartridge before.
Yeah.
That
one got 32 votes.
Ah.
Depends on where I'm hunting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which-
on your cartridge
What
selection.
pretentiousness.
Could have some validity to it, I guess, but
Next one. Mini 30. One vote.
One vote.
Next
My
one.
man.
300 Short Mag.
300 short mag.
300
There we
Short
go.
Mag got 27 votes at 3%.
Mo added that one.
No, I didn't know.
He
Actually,
didn't.
but
Mariah nor yourself voted.
I'm not on Facebook very much.
I don't know if I'm even in that group.
Yeah.
You should.
I
I
was
kind of
just thinking
abandoned
that.
Facebook a while ago.
I'll invite you. Well, you should come back. The water's fine. Elon fixed social media, so now it's all good, right? Right, Instagram? You're going to stop shadow banning us?
Working on that.
So then it goes on to say 300 Short Mag, 270 Short Mag, 22 250, 50 caliber muzzle, loader, 22 Hornet, 25-06, 6.5 284 Norma, 25-06 Ackley improved, bow and arrow, 375 Holland and Holland, 4570, 338 Win Mag, 3030, 44 Magnum, 700 Nitro.
How many votes did that get?
Uno. just one. 257 Weatherby.
In case you want it skinned and cooked for you when you get here.
257 Weatherby. 300 Weatherby. 65 Grendel. 6 Arc. 338, 378 Weatherby. 280 Ackley. 260 Remington. 223 Remington. 257 Roberts. 300 Savage. 300 Ultramag. 68 Western. 300 Blackout. 257 Winchester. 58 Caliber Hawken. 1 vote from Jim Blacktail. If you're familiar with Randy Newberg and Fresh Tracks, you've seen Jim Blacktail hunt with his Hawken muzzleloader. Flintlock, actually. Phenomenal footage of him killing stuff with a Hawken. Anyway, 280 Remington. Blow dart gun. Tim Wells, is that you?
I was going to say.
28 Nosler, 7mm Mauser, and Ford F-150.
Yes. Red, preferably.
And that one got 3 votes.
Nice.
How many votes did the 6 Arc get?
The 6 Arc was added by our good friend and neighbor to the east, Cody White. 2 votes. Yeah.
All right.
That's. I think they pretty much covered most of them.
I really can't think of a whole lot of other things.
Said somebody added the 30-30.
Yeah, somebody added the 30-30.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see here. Scroll on back up towards that. There were a lot of additions added on there. I did not expect that many folks to add things. The 30-30 got 13 votes.
And this was specifically a group for Blacktail in Alaska, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I commented on the post and said, just for fun, what's everybody's favorite cartridge for Blacktail hunting? And it ended up getting, in total, 884 votes. And the comments are even more entertaining, but we're not going to go there.
I can only imagine. Facebook comment sections.
Some people suggesting even, well, yeah.
It's half the reason I'm not on Facebook anymore.
It's very entertaining, but it's interesting, though, to find what people prefer to use.
Well,
and
what's interesting is there's not a single, common denominator.
No.
There's Ultramags, there's slow straight wall cartridges, there's anything in the middle, 700 Nitro.
AR platform guns, there's bolt guns,
which kind of
single
speaks
actions,
volumes of the fact that you can
lever actions,
whatever you're comfortable with, really.
Flintlock muzzle loaders, blow dart gun, which I'd love to see the footage of that.
Right, I'm sure it's been done.
I'm sure it has. Whether it's been done tastefully or not is a different story.
That's very true.
That's an easy road to get derailed from.
Yeah.
Just doing things for social media attention. But yeah, it was very interesting to see just the wide variety. And the one comment that I considered putting it in there myself, the one poll option was depends on where I'm hunting.
Yeah.
I was going to write depends on time of year.
Right.
Because I feel like that could genuinely be a consideration.
Mm-hmm.
It has been for me in the past.
Yeah.
I have, in October and November, it is a part of my decision-making process on what rifle am I going to carry for deer hunting and why am I so concerned about it?
Yeah.
Well, it's less to do about deer and more to do with the fact that the bears are still out in full force and there's still fish in the rivers. Absolutely. And there's a lot better chance that I'm going to bump into a bear. And I'm not one to pass on a good brown bear.
Yeah.
So if I get the chance, I want to be able to kill it. And I don't necessarily want to be shooting a 243 if I get that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not that you couldn't maybe pull it off, but it's not an ideal situation.
Shot placement is key, but
shot placement, bullet construction, the list goes on. But that's why I would rather have something probably in the 270 Winchester and up.
Right.
Is my personal standard.
Now, I have seen several videos of people killing bears with the higher performance 6.5s, like the 6.5 PRC, 6.5 284 Norma, things like that. So it can be done. It's not to say it can't be, but I would definitely agree with you on that. I'd feel comfortable. And that played some role into what I brought last year. I brought my 300 Win Mag. Yeah. Because there was some bear sign around, and just in case one poked its head out and I wanted to take a poke at it, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable shooting it with a 300 Win Mag, and I didn't feel like the 300 Win Mag was going to be too detrimental on a deer.
Yeah.
With, shooting in the boiler room.
Right.
Shoulder shot, yeah.
Right.
You're going to ruin some stuff. But
right. Yeah, absolutely. But that's the case with a lot of different rounds. I mean, even on a 6.5, if you hit it right in the shoulder, you're going to lose a lot of meat.
Right.
yeah,
That's
that's very true.
They're not that big of an animal.
Mhm.
Average body size for a big buck is 120 pounds or 135 pounds. Someone I do know killed one earlier this season in November that tipped the scales live weight at 145 pounds. Absolute fat buck.
Wow.
Really, really fat deer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever shot one that weighs that much.
Right. Yeah.
I've shot the one that I killed last year, I think was probably pushing that 125-ish pound range.
I would say mine was too.
And
Yeah.
yours was
It was
for
big
sure.
body. It had already dropped
Yeah.
its headgear. I would love to have seen what
Oh,
that
man.
deer's headgear looked like.
I'll go back
But-
and look for his sheds this year.
There you go.
But
But
anyway,
it was a big bodied buck though.
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, for
Right.
sure. And that's again probably in that 120 to 125 pound range, and that's
Right.
probably about as big as I've seen him get.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's just kind of an entertaining discussion to have with folks, and just kind of poke the fire a little bit and see what folks are interested in.
Now I already know where your mindset lands on this, so I'm gonna just kind of stoke the fire and let you fly with it. But a lot of people, when they're having these debates with themselves before they go on a blacktail deer hunt, especially in active bear country, in that time of year, there's two trains of thought they're going to come across looking at forums, comment sections, things of that nature. One is to bring a rifle that's capable of both.
Yeah.
Not too much for deer, but not too little for bear. Or, maybe you run a 2-gun arsenal. I think we've talked about that with certain people.
Yeah.
If you're hunting with a multiple party,
Right.
one has a 375 Ruger, one has a 270
Yeah.
or a 6.5, something like that, where you can kind of go back and forth if you need to.
Yep.
The other train of thought, though, is bring the rifle for the deer and the handgun for the bears.
Mm.
So while that's not the worst advice in the world, it can still get you in some trouble. I guess I should say if you're a resident, mostly.
Wait a second. Back up.
Well, because you're not going to be hunting a grizz if you're not a resident, unless you have a guide.
Okay. Yeah.
Or a brown bear in
for
that
sure.
section, I should say.
Right.
Yeah. Let me correct
Right.
myself. Brown bear.
Right. Okay. No, I just
So-
wanted to make sure that I knew where you were going with that.
Yeah. But anyway, so go ahead and put your.
Well,
your two
I'll
cents
start
in.
off by saying the worst advice you could give somebody that's going blacktail deer hunting is to bring rifle for deer and a hand and bear spray for bears.
Right.
That's about the worst advice you could give for a rifle hunter.
Mm-hmm.
A step above that, as far as bad advice, would be to go blow dart gun hunting and bring bear spray for the bears. But to just bring this rocket ship back down to the moon, if you caught my reference there, for all you tinfoil hatters. My personal preference has always been to kind of split the difference.
Same. Yeah.
I don't, and I know I'm going to get roasted for this by some people that are stout handgun carriers in bear country. I don't always carry a sidearm.
Really?
No.
I think you've mentioned that before, and I had the same response.
There are trips. There are trips where I am really, really diligent about it.
Mm-hmm.
The hunt in August.
Yeah.
I fully expected myself to just leave my 10 millimeter in the tent every day. And just as we walked around and hiked up the mountains and hunted deer, I thought I was going to leave it back. But you know why I think I carried it every single day?
Why's that?
Because it wasn't pouring rain and I didn't have to put on rain gear.
Oh,
Yeah.
that could be that's a big
Because
factor.
it kind of bunches things together and your
Yep.
raincoat kind of gets caught underneath stuff and it's kind of restrictive. And
Right.
when it's raining a lot, man, number one, I'm not doing that much hunting anyway.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You guys have both been there.
Yeah.
When it's pouring down rain that bad, you're looking for a tree to hide under.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily tiptoeing through the woods and trying to slip out a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, and this, okay, I don't always carry a handgun hunting every day down there. In most other places, I'm pretty on top of having a handgun on me at all times.
Mm.
down there, the biggest reason why I don't always have a handgun on me is I've always got a rifle in my hand.
Right. It's not slung on your back or anything.
Because of the style of hunt that is, my rifle isn't hanging off my backpack very often.
Right.
If ever, more than like for 2 minutes to give my hand a break.
I was going to say, the only time I remember either of us really putting our rifles slung on our pack or over our shoulders was just to, climb over something steep or get through something thick, like something where it was just, you couldn't have it right in front of you.
Right. The reason for that is you're still hunting.
Mm-hmm.
You're going, 10, 15 yards at a time, if even that far at a time. Stop, kind of hunch down and, bend your knees and tilt down and look under the trees and look through the branches, and you're looking to change that angle and look at every bit of the view that you have from where you're at, right? To look and try to see if a deer is in your line of sight somewhere. And then maybe you call a little bit and then you advance 40 yards or 100 yards or 200 yards, whatever you decide that number is. And then you stop again. So point being, you could bump a deer at any time.
Yeah.
A deer could come running into the call at any time. You could stop and look around and spot one at any time in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes your shots, when you're up in the woods, your shot opportunities are usually not more than 5 seconds long.
Right.
A lot of times they're less than that.
It's snap shooting, basically.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
And that's why if you have your gun on your pack and you're going through the brush and all of a sudden, boom, there's a buck. Well, guess what? There's a good chance he's going to walk away laughing and you're going to be, face palming yourself. And what was I doing with my gun on my backpack? That was a stupid idea. 3 times now, I have stopped middle of the day to in-reach somebody while I was hunting deer.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped while I was walking a deer trail. Middle of the day. I thought this was a bad time to be hunting. I thought, man, I haven't seen any deer all day yet. I got to send an in-reach message. 3 different times, this exact same situation is happening. While on a deer trail, I'm staring down at my in-reach trying to type out a message, and I look up, and there's 2 deer. Not 1, 2. 3 different times there have been 2 deer that have run up together on me under 40 yards and just froze and stood there. 2 or 3 years ago, the last time that happened, it was with my wife, and it was 2 does, and they ran up to like 5, 6 yards away and just stopped and stood there. Kind of scared me a little bit.
Right.
Because you turn around and you're, whoa. What are you doing here? But the first thought that came to my mind was, I just looked there.
Uh-huh.
How did this happen?
Yeah.
They come through just silently. They're just little ghosts, just little forest ghosts.
Well, and they're smaller than a lot of the trees.
Oh, they're so small compared to everything else in there. I mean, half those trees are bigger around than they are long.
Right. So
they're huge.
Standing right behind it. You walk right past.
Yeah, and that's why every couple of steps I stop and I look around and I hunch over and I bend down and I look at every angle, because behind any one of those given trees, there could be 3 deer standing behind there.
Right.
There could be a gully wash that you don't see until you change that angle. So my point being is, I don't always carry a handgun because I've always got a rifle.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think it's a class act stupid idea to go into bear country and rely on a handgun to protect you.
A handgun only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you bring a 243 and you say, I have confidence in my 44 Magnum that is going to stop a bear. Plain and simple, unless you're a part of like that 1 or 2 percentile of hunters that really practices a lot with their handgun.
Yeah.
And they can shoot that thing in their sleep upside down, backwards behind their back with their left hand.
Yeah.
While being spun in a circle and still stop a charging bear. Unless you're one of those guys.
Yeah.
You are being fooled into thinking that that's a safe option.
Most people that are carrying these big, 44 mag and above, big cartridge handguns.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, aren't practicing very much.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun to shoot at the range.
1 or 2%, maybe.
For me, I spent a lot of time finding a round that I both trusted and could shoot regularly.
Yeah.
In my 44 Magnum, because I want to be able to go and practice. I want to go at least shoot a cylinder through it once a month or something like that, and make sure I'm on point, make sure I can draw and shoot. And so I've spent a lot of time focusing on that. If you're shooting a 44 Magnum and you're shooting, I don't know, 320 grain plus P bear loads out of that thing, you're not probably going to be shooting it very often because it's not a lot of fun.
Right.
And so you really have to focus on making it a platform that's shootable.
Right.
Now, even that being said, I would not, start shooting with my 44 until it's pert near on top of me.
Yeah.
That's kind of a handgun's place.
Right.
Is it's a last resort.
Right.
You're not going to be shooting a bear that's 20 yards away with a handgun.
Right.
And if you are, you're kind of initiating, that fight there.
Right. Right. If you have time to reach for your rifle, and use your rifle instead of a handgun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the exception would be these guys that say that they wanted to hunt with a 243 or a 223 or a 220 Swift.
Yeah.
In that event, man, I'd be trying real hard not to shoot a bear. Because I certainly wouldn't want to shoot one with a 220 Swift, although Frank Glaser has proved that, or Frank Glaser, however you want to pronounce his last name, Alaska's Wolfman, has done it.
Oh,
Did do it back in the day. Not exactly ideal.
I think it took 11 rounds to put that bear down.
Was that with the 220 Swift?
That was.
Was that the Box Canyon bears?
No, that was the one up in 40 Mile Country when he was following the caribou herd. He had the 220 with him to hunt wolves.
Okay.
And he came up on a bunch of brush and a bear jumped out at him.
Okay.
And that's the only round he had.
Yeah, I didn't remember that exact
What I
situation.
wish I could see, if I had the ability to go back in history, he was using a bolt action rifle in the 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
I think it was the late 40s. 220 Swift, 11 rounds.
Yeah.
That mag don't hold 11 rounds.
Oh, no. No, definitely not.
I would love to see his reloading during that dance.
Probably involved a whole lot of running.
He describes it very vividly. I mean, he's going back and forth, and this bear's lunging at him.
Did he have his dogs with him?
I think he had one dog with him.
Did he have Queenie?
I want to say, no, I think Queenie was dead by then.
Oh.
Sorry if anybody hasn't read the book. But,
Me.
No, that was when Fish and Game hired him to follow the 40 Mile herd.
Right. Okay.
So I think he may have had one dog at that point, but for the most part, I think his team was back in Fairbanks.
Gotcha.
Or disbanded.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, anyway, to wrap back to the point of, I wouldn't really want to take on a bear, whether it's an interior grizzly bear or a coastal brown bear.
Yeah.
But talking about deer hunting, a coastal brown bear with anything less than, in direct comparison to a handgun choice.
Mm-hmm.
If I had, say, a 44 Magnum, I would pull the handgun first if I had a 243. If I had an aggressive bear at close range, I would pull the handgun first.
Think so?
Yep.
You wouldn't pop one shot off and throw the rifle?
Nope.
That's what I'd do. I might not reload the 243, but that first
I need to
round's
have
gonna be
that
a 243.
handgun up because I'm not pulling any triggers until that thing is committed to the charge.
Switch to secondary.
Yeah. Immediately. Immediately.
Yeah.
Now, if I had a 6.5 and up, a 264 caliber or up, I would probably stick with that first.
Yeah.
But then you get into your whole bullet selection thing.
That's true.
Because if you're shooting 120 grain Barnes TTSX out of a 6.5 Creedmoor, that's really not a whole lot much more than a 243 with 100 grain Nosler AccuBond or Nosler Partition, which are both kind of the common weights and bullet designs used in those respective calibers for blacktail hunting.
6mm versus 6.5. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's not a whole lot of a difference, 6mm versus 6.5 makes it sounds pretty innocuous.
Right. Yeah.
And so that might not seem like a lot, but for me, for some reason, this is very much unscientific. This is just my personal opinion. But in my mind, like there's just enough of a difference there that a 6.5 can do it, and I know a 22 can do it, and I know a 264 can do it.
Okay.
Well, but that 243
now,
is just a bit too small.
And arguably, to that point, there's a lot of things in how animals react to certain cartridges and certain calibers that you can't figure out from looking at a chart.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of chart nerds out there,
yeah.
And I'm guilty. I'm one of them. I love looking at charts. I love comparing cartridges and looking at different calibers and different weights and speeds and all this different stuff. And I love obsessing over the numbers, but that doesn't always equate to effectiveness. And sometimes there's just factors outside of what you're looking at on your chart. How much velocity and energy and whatever it has. Bullet construction plays a huge factor into it, regardless of your BCs.
Right,
right. BCs don't kill. BCs get your bullet there, but BCs don't kill. So, bullet construction, I guess that BC would kill. But that's a huge factor to look into. You've pointed out the difference in, certain Magnum cartridges compared to a 375 Ruger, which is much slower than those Magnums.
Right.
But still is much more effective due to its diameter.
Right.
So, there's just factors on how it actually impacts the game that you can't see from a ballistics calculator.
Displacement.
Yeah.
And something else that I try to get folks to consider as well. People love to compare, say, the 6.5 PRC to the 300 Win Mag.
Mm-hmm.
And
apples and oranges.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about that exact example. And that ballistically speaking, on paper, the 6.5 PRC outperforms a 300 Win Mag out past, I think it was 400 or 500 yards. And that was with the 6.5 PRC with a 143 grain ELDX going 3,000 feet per second, I believe. And compared to a 300 Win Mag with 180 grain Nosler AccuBond, I believe, going about 2960.
Yeah.
And that is an accurate comparison between two very commonly found factory loads and factory bullet options for each respective cartridge.
And the weight that goes along with it.
And the weight class. Yeah. Generally speaking, it's a 180 for the 300 Win Mag and a 140-ish for the 6.5 PRC.
Yeah.
It's designed for heavy for caliber. And somewhere around 400 or 500 yards, the 6.5 PRC will outrun it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll retain more velocity. It'll retain more energy.
I think it has a little bit less drop, doesn't it?
It's probably a little bit flatter.
Maybe, yeah.
And it'll buck the wind a lot better. That's due to its ballistic coefficient. However, this is where I get hung up in this argument. What is 0.264 times 2?
0.512.
0.528.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, I messed that one up, didn't I?
Okay.
Do better.
I've been sick, okay?
Remember that number though. 0.528. Okay. This is not a math test, but just remember that number. 0.528. What is 0.308 times 2?
616.
616. 616 minus 0.528 is a difference of 0.088.
Mm.
Okay. Now, 0.088. Hold on to that number. Let's go back to the original difference of 0.264. The difference between that and 0.308 is 0.85.
Mm-hmm. So plus 0.88.
Right.
Yeah. You're looking at a big difference in
there is
diameter.
A huge difference. And the reason that I double that number for each respective bore diameter is that is, in an ideal world, sometimes more what your final expansion diameter is after impact.
Diameter of the mushroom. Yeah.
So obviously a 30 caliber is going to expand to over 0.6, but 0.616.
Yeah.
264 or 6.5 millimeter is only going to expand to 0.528.
Yeah.
So that difference is magnified after expansion.
Well, and people might not think that sounds like a lot, but when you're looking at different cartridges next to each other, different bullet diameters next to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're looking at the difference between a 338 and a 338, right? I mean, it's
a 338 and a 338.
Or sorry, a 308 and a 338. Sorry. 308 and 338. You know, I mean, you're looking at, hundredths of a difference.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not really that big of a deal going from cartridge to cartridge.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't look like a big deal.
Right.
Sorry, I'm mixing my words here.
On paper.
But it is a big deal.
Yeah. On paper, it doesn't look like that big of a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in felt, how the animal feels it makes a huge difference.
That's where this whole enigma has come from in the last, how many years have we heard the term knockdown power?
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Because certain bore diameters just kill faster.
Yeah.
It's just proven. It's just how it is.
It's not a scientific thing. It just is. It's a universal truth.
People can argue 6 ways till Sunday about, 6.5 Creedmoor will kill elk. And will it?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're
So
not
will a
talking.
223.
We're not talking about a perfect broadside shot at 100 yards.
Mm.
I'm not talking about shooting a brown bear with a 6.5 Creedmoor in a hunting situation. I'm talking about as a blacktail deer hunting primary rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really the cartridge that you want to stop a charging brown bear?
Mm-hmm.
That's the real dilemma here.
Yeah, yeah. And it's now I'll put a quick twist on that for the situation a lot of these guys might be talking about. One guy, even put in the thing, depends on where I'm hunting kind of stuff.
Right.
When we were there last year, we saw other people out and about hunting with different methods.
Yeah.
Some people beach hunt that time of year.
Yeah.
And that is all. They run around on their boats and they hunt the beaches, and then they'll jump out on the beach or shoot from the boat if you're allowed to in whatever area you're in. The rules change depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
And harvest the deer, gut it out, throw it on the boat, keep going.
Yeah.
In that instant, I know people that hunt that way. And they're the ones that are typically advocating for, 223 or 6 millimeter, some of those smaller rounds, because they're not out there in the thick. You know, they're not hiking hills. They're not going up through the trees and going up riverbank or rivers and creeks and whatnot where they might bump into a bear.
Yeah.
They're, and so in that respect, for different people hunt different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's changing their strategy day to day. They just might not go hunt if they can't hunt the beaches.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be a very different situation than what you're talking about and what we have done, where some days we're hunting beaches if they're on the beach. If they're not on the beach, we're going up the hill, right? Or we're going up some creek, or we're going out some other area. Like we're still out there.
Yeah.
Where you're more likely to run into a bear. Not to say you can't run into one on the beach, but you're a lot closer to the boat.
Right. Oh, and with that, Dalton, you mentioned 120 grain 6.5 out of a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
I was thinking, man, that's still not very much. Right.
Yeah. It's still pretty small.
Now, I'm going to be one of the rifles I'll be hunting with this year is a 30-30 with a 120 grain Hammer Hunter.
Yeah.
But I somehow will feel so much more comfortable with that 30-30 in my hands than I would with the 6.5 Creedmoor.
Right. It's just in the name, Mariah.
It might be.
It's just the name.
It's a lever action 30-30 versus, this little.
More bullet than there is case.
But see, to that point, though, your frontal diameter is a 30 caliber versus a 264.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do have your expansion difference and your total expanded bullet diameter.
Well, with a Hammer Hunter, there's not really an expanded bullet diameter. But
there's
a flat face.
There's displacement.
Yeah.
There's displacement that is very different between those two diameters.
Right. Yeah.
So it's an interesting topic to discuss. Like I said, I split the difference. I've been carrying a 7 mag or a 300 or even a 30-06 for the majority of the time that I've hunted deer.
And I would feel perfectly comfortable with a 30-06.
Oh yeah,
honestly, I mean that's.
There's plenty of gun in there.
Yeah,
plenty of gun. The nice part about the 06 is it's a little bit anemic on the speed side.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Magnum cartridge.
Right.
It is pretty moderate as far as performance and ballistic ability, and it's not your 1 mile killer gun, and but it doesn't need to be.
I would say it falls in that sweet spot where it's not a slow cartridge per se.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be, I guess, if you load it up with 220s, but it's a moderate one. You know, it's not it's not going to be flinging stuff at
180 grain bullet is around 2,700 feet per second,
Right.
on average.
Right.
Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. If you go down to the 150s, you can get closer to that 3,000 foot per second.
Mhm.
But generally, if you shoot about 180 grain bullet or so, you're going to have enough gun that you can penetrate deeply into the vitals on a bear.
Right.
But it's also not so fast and oversized that if you shoot a blacktail deer
Yeah.
at 30 yards, you're going to destroy the meat within a 12-inch circle around the bullet hole.
Yeah. Plenty of bears have been killed with an .6.
Yeah.
I mean, plenty of them.
Right.
So,
Right.
But it's a good time to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, as part of your cartridge selection for deer hunting, you know, especially in Alaska where a lot of our animals are much bigger, and this
Yes.
probably isn't as much of a problem,
Yeah.
is meat preservation. Or
Yes.
not in the sense of post-kill, but like not bloodshotting more meat than you absolutely have to,
Right.
while splitting the difference,
Right.
like we'd been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So the most accurate train of thought I have seen in my experience is that fat and slow damages less meat than small and fast.
Absolutely.
And I don't know exactly what the science behind it is, aside from maybe the rippling effect when a fast bullet smacks into the animal. Maybe that shock just jellos the meat better.
Okay.
But I have seen, you know, the difference between a 6.5 versus even like a 45-70,
Oh, yeah.
where you've got a massively bigger bullet, but it's going way slower.
Right.
And it might jello a little bit of meat around like a 1/2 inch diameter, as long as you hit the boiler room, right? If you hit a shoulder like we talked about, you're pretty much you're gonna
Yeah.
damage meat regardless.
Yep.
But for some reason, the heavier the bullet, it doesn't seem to be as much of a factor as the speed. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that. You know, when I would tell people I was hunting deer, whether it's down in Ohio or, you know, bringing the 450 Bushmaster to Michigan or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, people always talk about, oh man, you're going to cut that deer in half, or, oh
Right,
man, you're going
right.
to bloodshot half the meat. And
Yeah.
it's almost quite the opposite, right? You take a Magnum cartridge
Yeah.
and you hit a deer at way over 3,000 feet per second, you're going to do way more damage than you will around that, like with the 30-06, that 2,600, 2,700 feet per second mark, or even lower than that, you know?
Yeah.
So what's your experience been with deer specifically? You've shot more deer than either of us two have. Probably with knowing you, a varying selection of cartridges.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh boy. Here we go. Off into the weeds I go again. I think the smallest one I ever shot a deer with is probably the 7 mag,
Okay.
and the largest one being a 375 H&H.
Mm-hmm.
And the 7 mag, when paired with a non-match grade bullet
Mm-hmm.
and a non-ballistic tip bullet. Okay, and by ballistic tip, I am directly referring to the Nosler ballistic tip. I don't mean any bullet with a polymer tip,
Mm-hmm.
because probably the vast majority of bullets now all have polymer tips for
Most of them.
increased
Yeah.
expansion characteristics and better ballistic coefficient. But with the 7 mag, if I'm shooting like 160 grain Nosler AccuBond or
Mhm.
162 grain Hornady ELDX or 150 grain Hornady CX or something like that, whether it's monometal or cup and core non-bonded lead
Mhm.
core bullet, or whether it's a lead core bonded bullet, as long as I keep the shots in the ribs, like in the ribs, out the ribs,
Right.
not hitting the stomach, not hitting any part of the shoulders, that's a fine cartridge for that.
Yep.
It's definitely a bit on the fast side.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, it would be nice to just shoot everything with a 243. And I've got a 243 that I certainly could bring. And the thought crossed my mind this year. I thought, there's going to be 3 of us hunting there, and I'll have other guys around with guns, but then it crossed my mind, well, what if I pick the day to bring the 243 that they both want to bring their 30-30s?
Mm-hmm.
And now we've all got, pathetic little guns.
But hey, we'll have a lot of bullets we can put into that thing.
We will have
Very
a lot
quickly.
of bullets.
Yes.
And in all reality, I am joking. I'm not making that decision based off of my concern for bear defense. I was just making a joke there. But shot placement is everything.
Yeah,
And
it is.
bullet construction is really important when you're talking about bears, but you can kill a deer with a rock if you throw it hard enough, it seems like.
You can.
Those deer go down pretty easily.
Where the difference comes in is your shot limitations.
Yeah.
Can you take that hard quartering shot? Can you go through the opposing shoulder without damaging the shoulder?
I haven't shot a single cartridge that would go in and out of a deer that I would shoot on a hard quartering shot and not expect a lot of meat damage.
Right.
Meaning, if I was shooting a 22 Hornet, I would shoot that deer from any angle because that bullet's probably not going to make it all the way out to their side, especially if I'm shooting a frangible, lightweight bullet.
Yeah.
That bullet is going to go in and it's going to come apart and it's not going to go out. So I'll shoot that deer from any angle.
Right.
As long as I don't have to enter through heavy bone or muscle. With a 7 mag, I'm not probably going to Texas heart shot a blacktail deer because that bullet is going to destroy both of the back quarters and probably parts of both of the front quarters as well. And it's going to suck vacuum through that deer. It's going to suck stomach content and intestinal content all the way up through that chest cavity. It's going to ruin the heart. It's going to splatter gut matter all over the inside of the ribs.
It sounds like you've done this before.
It's a painful experience to talk about.
Okay.
But point being, you do destroy a lot of meat when you take some of those shots. And yes, earlier on, I took any shot I could get. Last year, when I was trying to be selective on my shots, I sat there and darn near froze my hand off trying to wait for a shot with my glove off my hand.
Right.
Because I didn't want to shoot that deer on a hard quartering shot. And so I waited until that little spike turned broadside.
Yep.
And I shot him behind the shoulder. Didn't destroy any meat.
Yeah.
And then the big daddy buck stood up from behind him and was facing me. And so I shot him square on the chest. Because when they're that big, you just don't wait.
Right. And that was about 200 yards?
It was 200 even.
Okay.
Now, and you shot that small doe.
Yeah. Smaller doe.
Yeah. Smaller than any other deer I've seen.
No.
300 Win Mag.
You haven't seen enough deer. You haven't seen enough deer to make that judgment.
True.
It was a 7 mag.
Was that the 7 mag?
Yeah, that was a 7.
I shot everything with 7 mag last year.
That's right. Okay. Well, you shot that thing from 20 yards when it popped out of the trees. It was close.
It may have been a skosh more than that, but
it may have been a little more, but it was
pretty
40
close.
max.
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
And I mean, you pretty much just put it in the guts, right? Right in front of the guts.
It was quartering away.
Yeah, it was quartering away, and I shot it in the back of the ribs, and it came up behind the opposite shoulder.
And your description of that was it basically just sucked everything.
Yeah, it sucked everything out the exit.
Yeah.
Well, it was a very small animal and with a very fast bullet.
Yeah.
All those deer are small for a 7 mag, just to be clear. 3,000 feet a second at 35 yards is a lot of velocity.
Now, I shot, I had wounded the deer, and then I shot it at 30 yards with my 300 short mag.
See, I didn't wound any of mine, but you did.
That's true. That is true. Although all my shots were a lot further, so that's that too. Just say I got a little bit of
going
an
after it
excuse.
in this one.
This is just going down the drain.
I did kill the deer I shot at. So
You did.
I'll leave that at that. But I shot that other deer.
Oh, yeah. That's right. See, this is just turning into a great bundle of memories. This is just
some
my
of us,
favorite Christmas cheer.
Anyhow, so I had wounded the one, tracked it. It was like 30 yards away, and it was quartering away from me, but it was in the water, and it stopped on a rock, so I shot.
Yeah.
And I went, and instead of going towards the back of the ribs, I went to the front of the ribs, right behind the front shoulder.
Yeah.
and it was perfect. Barely even hurt any meat.
Yeah.
With a 300 short mag, 30 yards, which is still going 3,000 feet per second.
Oh, yeah.
With a 168.
165. Barnes TTSX.
Pretty sure those are 168s.
Positive they're 165s.
All right, if you say so. Anyhow, with a 165 Barnes TTSX.
And those are going like 3120 at the muzzle.
Yeah. So it was going like...
They're zipping.
They're hauling.
Yeah.
That deer... I mean, you say you can put him down with just about anything. But man...
He was full of adrenaline.
They're tough.
That point.
He took off swimming into the stream. And when we found him, he didn't have anything for vitals left.
Yeah.
No, he was dead.
But still,
Just
I was
didn't know it yet.
I was amazed at that shot. I thought I ruined half of each shoulder, front of one and back of the other.
Right.
But it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say in that instance, that's a little bit more weird given the speed that it hit.
Right.
Because I also went through a shoulder on my deer. Now, mine I shot with
I
did.
Yeah.
So mine was
like
at
the very
450 yards.
Yeah.
And I was hunting with my 300 Win Mag and 200 grain Nosler partitions.
Yeah.
So I hit that thing pretty much square. It was slightly quartering away.
Yeah.
I hit it square in the lungs, right where I wanted to, but then it exited basically center punching the opposite shoulder.
Yeah.
Now there were some contributing factors to why I had to take the shot that I did, but we weren't alone. Let's just say that. But there was some shooting going on up a different way, and that deer started to move. And so, so I took the shot, put it down.
Yeah.
And I went through and through.
Yeah.
Did not damage a bit of meat on that opposing shoulder. But a 200 grain Nosler partition, even out of a 300 Win Mag at 450 yards, I was going a little bit less than 2,000 feet per second. So
really?
Yeah.
That slow?
Just a little bit. Yeah. It only comes out the muzzle at like 2750, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I could see that, but wow.
Yeah. And not great BCs. So,
well, no,
but and depends on elevation too, because you can get those things.
I think you're about
out to a
foot
little
above
bit
sea
further.
level.
Yeah. Right. Maybe 3.
Maybe.
But I was resting on top of my backpack, so we'll give it some.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like just south of 2,000 feet per second. No meat damage coming out the other side of that. So it's interesting to think. I mean, there's a lot of different factors to it, but you want to make sure you're not, like you had said, Texas heart shooting with a 300 Remington Ultra Mag.
Oh boy.
I mean, there's not going to be any of that deer left.
Yeah.
Right?
Terrible decision.
So it really is a huge balancing act when you're trying to select for this animal. It's like one of the smallest animals you can hunt in Alaska, if not the smallest.
Right.
That's still considered big game. So
yeah, I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
I can't think of a argument for that. I mean, unless some folks might consider wolves as big game, but
technically they are.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah. I think the cutoff is 40 pounds.
But they're more.
I think anything over 40 pounds is considered big game, if I remember correctly.
But they're more the same size.
I think so. Yeah.
As Blacktail. They're pretty close to the same.
Blacktails are bigger.
They're a little bigger.
Yeah.
It depends on the deer. Depends on the wolf.
Also depends on the wolf. Yeah.
Hey, that one I shot.
Yeah, but it wasn't no 150 pounder.
It was close.
No.
Hey, you said it was 140.
No, I did not.
You did on the spot. Now, we didn't have a scale, but that's what you said on the spot.
Well, a lot of things get said at hunting camp. Boy, I don't recall ever saying that I thought that wolf was 140 pounds. I recall saying that I thought it could have been like 110 or 120 because we couldn't shoulder it.
120.
We couldn't shoulder it. It was monstrous.
It was an easy 120.
But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting debate to have about light and fast for just deer, for having a laser versus having a little bit heavier, a little bit slower, a little more controlled expansion, a little less chaos, if you will, for meat damage. And I think at the end of the day, it's just personal preference. There are a lot of guys that kill big brown bears with 308s and 708s and 6.5 Creedmoors, and you know what? More power to them. It's it's not my ideal choice.
Right.
I like I said, I made my position pretty clear throughout our episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a brown bear, I ought to start with a 30-06 and up. That's what I would recommend. If somebody was asking me and they said, can I kill a Kodiak brown bear or a coastal Alaska brown bear with a 30-06? I need to go out and buy a new gun. The answer is no.
Right.
You do not need to. You can do it.
Right.
With the right bullets, put in the right spot, at the right distances, and the right self-control to wait for the right shot, it can be done. And it is easily done, relatively speaking, compared to all the hype you'll read on the internet.
With the proper amount of skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the patience comes in for the right shot and the right opportunity and the right bullet selection and
knowing
the right
bear's anatomy, knowing all of that.
And if you go back to the earlier days of even Kodiak, you have a lot of guides that were operating with 30-06s. And now I heard something to the effect of, and this is from another guide, that the theory was that guides wanted clients nowadays to carry more gun in an effort to make shorter blood trails, kill them a little bit faster, and to reduce the number of bears that the guides had to have the necessity to back up shoot.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
It does make sense.
That's one way to look at it, but I've never heard any other guide ever describe it like that, though.
It does make sense that would be the logic behind it. I mean, can you kill a 10-foot coastal brown bear with a 6.5 PRC? Sure.
Yeah.
Is it going to die quickly? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on where you hit that bear. So
with factory ammo, with a 130 grain Hornady CX copper bullet, if you shoot it in the lungs one time from inside 125 yards and he doesn't know where you are, that bear will be dead in under a minute.
Yeah.
That's in ideal circumstances.
How far is it going to get in that minute? How thick is the country it's going to
How far is it going to get in that minute if it gets shot in the lungs of the 458 Win Mag?
Hopefully not as far, right? But I'm not arguing for the fact. I'm just saying I can understand the logic behind it. Saying yes, we want somebody to carry a bigger rifle, so we're not doing several of the stories that you have told on the podcast of crawling through thick stuff after a wounded bear. So I can understand why they would want that.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's actually
tempting your life insurance policy.
Yeah. Whether or not it's legitimate, well, that's up to the user.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So let's shift this a little bit. We've talked a lot about the ideas of what rifle to bring, what cartridge to bring. What are you guys bringing?
Well,
put you on the spot. You actually have to decide now.
Last week, Mo and I did go do some shooting.
We did.
And it went quite nicely. I shot a 30-06 and a 300 Win Mag. And like I said before, my 7 Mag has gotten the nod every year I've deer hunted down there for the last number of years now.
Yeah.
But I put a big muzzle brake on it.
That is a big muzzle brake you have on that thing.
I think that was like a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
And it makes it so nice to shoot. But, in a controlled environment with earplugs or ear protection of some sort, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I can spot my own impacts. When I'm hunting by myself, it's a really nice gun to use. But when I'm deer hunting, there are often a lot of, there's a deer, pull up the gun, pull the trigger.
Yeah.
It's that fast. You have a very short window of opportunity.
Sometimes in very close quarters.
Is a major contributor to hearing loss when you have a muzzle brake. It's one thing when you touch off a 30-06 without a muzzle brake in the hardwoods and you echo that around. And that's pretty loud and your ears will ring for a while.
Yeah.
At least mine do. But when you touch off a 7 Mag or a 300 Win Mag or some type of Magnum cartridge with a side baffle muzzle brake in the hardwoods, I kid you not.
It's going to hurt.
It will make you deaf for hours. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
After last year hunting with that gun, with that brake, I pretty much decided I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bittersweet moment. Because on one hand, I look at that gun and I say, the bolt doesn't lock down. It has a big old muzzle brake on it. And I kind of want to shoot something else anyway. And so I decided I'm going to bring my Tikka 300 Win Mag as my backup gun.
Okay.
The primary is probably going to be that 30-06.
Yep.
And I'm shooting 180 grain class bullets. And they're flying right around 2,700 feet per second. And they shoot, Man, do they shoot good.
Right.
They do. Yeah.
Good grief, do they shoot good.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's a nice, easy gun to shoot. 22-inch barrel, super handy little rifle. I've had it for a little while.
22-inch, huh?
Yeah, 22-inch.
Interesting. It's interesting they went with that.
Yeah, it's the Sacco 85 Finlight.
Mm-hmm.
Discontinued action now,
Yeah.
actually.
Yep.
Sweet shooting little gun, though. 5 in the magazine.
Yeah.
Just a handy little gun.
That is one benefit.
Super handy.
I think almost every .6 I've had has had five down.
All the Model 70s have 5 down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean,
I think the Rugers have 5 down as well in the Hawkeyes.
they probably do.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check on that.
I'm not sure.
I just saw one of those for sale in the guide gun model with a 20-inch barrel. With
Oh,
iron
really?
sights.
That wouldn't be a bad gig
Yeah.
right there.
Tried to put my name in that hat, but got no response. Yeah. Those are handy little guns for a .6. That'd be a handy little gun.
That would be.
Stoke up some 220 grain round nose bullets in
Yeah.
that thing for the bear bait with irons.
Mm-hmm.
Be a nice little gun.
Yeah. Got to be careful with them auctions online for firearms. I've accidentally won them before.
Not an auction.
No.
It wasn't an auction.
Oh, or was it?
No.
Well,
Different site.
gotcha.
But yeah, so .6 is going to be the primary this year, I think.
Yeah.
If all goes well, I'll just try with the .6 because it's nice and slow, but
Mhm.
it's a good balance.
I think that's going to be an awesome deer gun. What
I'm
about
looking
you,
forward
Mo?
to it.
I'm planning on bringing 300 short mag like I did last year as more of a backup.
Okay.
Although I probably will end up killing at least a deer with it.
So confident.
And then, I say that based upon the fact of opportunity and range.
Mhm.
Because I'm also going to bring a 30-30 with stock irons. It's a Marlin JM stamp that I'm keeping all original.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's a hand-me-down from a family member.
It is.
Very nice.
That's a very special gun.
So that's why I'm keeping it all stock. I just,
Yeah.
it's a nice gun the way it is. I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep it nice. And
So you're going to take it hunting in the salt water and ruin it.
I was just going to say.
I did it last year and I was able to keep it from getting any rust or anything like that just by cleaning it
Yeah.
every night.
As long-
and when
as
I
long-
get home, really stripping it down.
Yeah. As long as you're consistent with your maintenance, that's,
Well, and
it's,
so I have heard this, and you can tell me whether or not you agree or disagree. I have experienced this to be true.
Okay.
But with guns especially, older blued guns don't rust as easy and don't wear out as quick. The balloon doesn't-
100%.
older,
100%.
They have higher quality steel.
the older bluing process.
It's not the steel, it's the bluing
it's
process.
the bluing process.
Is it
So
really?
the new bluing process is so cheap
Yeah.
and so rapidly done that it doesn't offer the same protection as like the traditional, like old school Marlins. When
It's
they
like
used to blue those things, I
Yeah.
mean, it was as good as stainless.
Yeah.
In its time, and so
Modern bluing is like a bake-on treatment. It's
it's
chintzy as can
Gotcha.
be.
Okay.
it's
okay, that
not
makes
the
sense.
full acidic bluing treatment like
Yeah.
it used to be. And
Full-on bluing absorbs into the steel itself.
yeah.
It's in the
It
steel.
shouldn't wear off to looking like bare metal after a few years.
I mean, after a lot of continuous years of use, that'll happen.
Yeah. It still requires maintenance because
But
it
it can
still,
be reblued.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
No,
and you can get the kits that will apply the same level of bluing.
Okay.
If you do it yourself, or if you find a good gunsmith that can do it for you, that'll do it to the same standard that they used to.
Right.
Yeah.
But factory bluing these days is not what it used to be. So that's where the big difference comes in.
So that 30-30 does have good quality bluing.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And it's a sweet rifle. I need to figure out how to adjust the sights on it. I know I can. The up down's easy.
Yeah.
Figuring out the side to sides.
It's a pin.
Like that little tap pin.
Yeah, you got to get a
It's
Like a little punch.
little punch. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to use a punch and tap
Punch
it.
on a little trim hammer.
Those old Marlins. That's how my old 4570 was. It was a pre-Remington.
I have to
But
look. I
it's-
have to look again. I didn't
It's
see
not
a pin
very
anywhere,
precise.
but, well, I already knew it wasn't going to be that.
Tap.
I figured it was
Too
a
far.
tap of some sort.
Yeah. Little rubber mallet and a little punch. And
But at 50 yards, I'm 4 inches left and 4 inches high. Very consistently, 4 inches left and 4 inches high. If you take those 12-inch shoot and see targets, and if I shoot at the middle one every time,
You're just on the
consistency,
edge.
I hit the top left orange dot. Perfect.
Bullseye. Bullseye.
First time I shot, I was like, what did I hit? What in the world? Really?
Yeah.
Was I aiming there?
Yeah.
And I shot again, and it was a half inch from the last one. I thought, okay, well,
Does it shoot pretty tight then?
it shoots really tight, especially for those old irons.
Yeah.
Remy's bringing an identical gun.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Same thing, old irons?
JM, old irons, Marlin.
So I need to, I've got a load worked up for it with the hammers. I need to sight it in, tap at the range.
Bring a bunch of them and have Remy shoot them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chances are it'll work.
Now,
Yeah.
I shot
Should shoot fine.
nozzlers out of it last year. I was shooting ballistic tips.
Yeah.
And those were straight on.
Oh, are they?
At least they were last year. So unless it's gotten bumped, which easily could have happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's yeah.
You know, because I shot those at the range before we went out last year, and they were. I mean, I just shot a couple of them at a coffee can or something, and they were bang bang right to the can at 100 yards.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Within 1 minute of coffee,
There you go.
which is where I'm about at for tonight, guys. So about 1 minute away from my third cup of coffee.
I was wondering what you meant by that.
I just finished my cup of coffee. So
Right on.
either wrap this up or we're going to go 2 more hours.
That seems to be how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to get out of here.
Yeah. Well, and you know, for anybody listening, we do all work full-time jobs, and so we are typically, especially when you
Wait,
hear
you do?
us, yeah, plus full-time plus jobs.
Yeah.
Got the premium subscription to full-time. But
If we get paid well, right?
Exactly. But a lot of times when you hear us goof up on what we're talking about, it's because we're recording these after a 10-hour day out in the field somewhere, and it's a lot of fun. We enjoy doing it. But,
Yeah. This is done purely out of passion.
Yeah.
So
Now, if you are wanting to hear more about deer hunting tactics, I hate to say this, in our very early episodes, that was one of the first things we covered. Now, I'm going to warn anybody who started listening to the show later in our episodes, like let's say around maybe the late teens into the early 20s is when we really started to get the audio figured out.
times have changed.
Got some things in the studio fixed with the echo and whatnot. Got some new mics.
Yeah.
They are not going to sound as good the first 10 episodes. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of echo. It's not unlistenable by any stretch of the imagination, but
I haven't listened to them.
I can't. But
I can't.
But there's a lot of good information in there. We talk a lot about deer hunting stories from the past, deer hunting tactics, tips, and different methods of hunting in different areas. So if you are interested in that kind of nitty-gritty information, go back to our earlier episodes. You'll find them. I think we had some creative naming tactics early on where we were trying to do some
I was really pushing for that, and I get shot down again and again now. So,
but there should be deer in the subject somewhere. So, but and you know, it's one of our early episodes. So
you know what? We did a couple episodes from deer camp last year.
We did at least one.
We did at least one. I don't know if we did two or not.
I don't know if we did two, but yeah, us talking about what we were doing down there. I think we were about halfway through, maybe. We sat down and recorded, and ate some. We were eating some deer and some duck. I think
That's
during
right.
that time.
We were eating deer tongue too.
Yeah,
That's
deer
right,
tongue. Yeah, and some duck. I mean, it was a good time. Definitely go listen to that one.
If we do a episode from deer camp this year, I know what we're gonna have to call it. Alaska's Deer Camp of Love.
No. I know what you're getting after.
I know you know what I'm getting at there.
I know what you're getting after. And no, that's
I know that just sounded really wrong,
right.
probably to you, James, and a bunch of other people, but some of you out there get it.
Yeah. For those of you that get it, it's funny. Those of you that don't, think there's something wrong with us.
All right. Well, you guys got anything else you want to add about this topic before we wrap up?
No, just appreciate you guys writing into the show and emailing. We got another email while we were recording.
I saw that.
About this subject.
About deer hunting, yeah.
Not something we're going to talk about.
Perfect
but
timing. We
we'll
almost
answer
should, but I don't want, we'll save it.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about anything we talked about in this episode or any episode, or a question you would like featured on a future episode, Go to the website, thenorthernhunter.com, hit the contact button. That'll get us an email directly to our inbox. While you're there, if you want to shop from the shop page, buy some merch, get some hats, hoodies, t-shirts. Moe's wearing a hoodie and a hat right now. Looks mighty slick there. And we also have the partners page with links and discount codes to a lot of different companies, all related to the outdoors. Great products to get you out there, help you be more successful, be a little more comfortable. And those discounts can be applied at checkout, following the links either in the partners page on the website or in the show notes of this show. Again, if you have not already, please subscribe to the show, leave us a rating and a review. That helps light years in helping us get to new people, helping the show grow, and helping us do more, produce more content, more platforms, and just do what we're loving to do. So Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Until then, get out there, get after it, and good luck. See you there.
All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.